for joining us on ABC News GH. I am Abuna Manti and you're watching ABC in the morning. We are glad to have you. Interact with us on social media at ABC News GH _ we are live on YouTube, ABC News GH. ABC in the morning is a packed show. It's a cocktail of conversations where we bring you the hard-hitting conversations, we bring you the important things you need to know, and we also give you all of the interviews that matter. So you want to watch us all the time, every weekday in the morning for ABC in the morning. But before we kickstart the show, this is something I have for you. Kofi Annan, former Secretary General of the United Nations, the proud son of the land, said that to live is to choose, but to choose well, you must know who you are and what you stand for, where you want to go and why you want to go there. So basically, everything you do should be driven by something. Everything you do should be driven by a goal, the most necessary thing that you are focused on, that thing that you cannot take your eyes off from, and that thing that keeps you up at night and bubbles up in your heart. So to live is to choose. So make a choice today and know where you are going and decide that this is how I'm going to get to where I want to go. This is what I bring to you this morning on ABC in the morning. ABC in the morning will be bringing you the front story. We'll bring you what is trending in Ghana. We'll bring you the business fix, and then we'll have the main discussion for today. And finally, we will bring you politics today. What is happening in the world of politics? Like I said, it's a cocktail of conversations that you do not want to miss. On politics today, we'll be looking at the tussle between the NDC and the EC and how to end this tussle just 3 months into the elections. On our main discussion today, yesterday personally made me a very happy person. The president has assented to the Affirmative Action Act, and it's a great joy for me personally, and I'm sure for all women over the country, you're also excited, and for persons living with disabilities, you're also excited about this. For Business Fix, we'll be looking at the GDP growth in the second quarter and what it means for our economy. Is the economy recovering? Has the economy recovered based on this GDP growth? And on Front Story, which we are bringing you shortly, we are looking at the Ministry of Health declaration of a public health emergency over the polio detection in the country. So up next is Front Story. You're still watching ABC in the morning. I am Abuna Manti. On Front Story today, this is worrying. The Ministry of Health has declared a public health emergency over polio detection. A very worrying thing to hear. And the Ministry of Health has declared this emergency following a detection of a circulating vaccine-derived poliovirus type 2, which is called the CVDPV2, in a sample from Koforidua in the eastern region. After the sample was detected by the polio laboratory of the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research. This Institute for Medical Research's polio laboratory serves actually as the World Health Organization's regional polio laboratory, and it conducts routine surveillance for polio in Ghana. This vaccine-derived poliovirus that has been detected during a routine surveillance in Nsukwao, in the Nsukwao River in the New Job in South Municipality in the eastern region, is quite worrying. The Ministry of Health released a statement, and the statement said that they collected samples, and those samples tested positive for the poliovirus, and it prompted the ministry to initiate prompt actions to prevent an outbreak in Ghana. Polio outbreak is very easy to happen, and the sample that was collected on August 20 was isolated. The isolated result was obtained on September 3 as suspected polio, and subsequently it confirmed it as the CVD PV2 on September 5. So the ministry is advising that people take necessary preventive measures to avoid contracting polio, to avoid contracting it. It's something that can spread very fast, like I said. So the ministry is asking that we all take preventive measures so that we can not contract it, and it starts with personal hygiene. Most necessary is the washing of hands. After COVID, we all know how necessary it is to wash our hands. Washing our hands does not just end with COVID. We need to continue to wash our hands daily, and the Ministry of Health is saying that we will look at some graphics on polio. But before that, we have joining us Dr. Nelly Adade. She's a pediatrician. We know how much polio affects children, and anytime we mention polio, all the people, although polio can happen to everybody regardless of your age, the most vulnerable of the persons who contract polio are children. So I want to talk to a pediatrician who will give us more information on this and how we can take the necessary precautionary measures. As for an adult, it's very easy for you to wash your hands. You know how to maintain personal hygiene. But that child under 2, that child under 5, it's quite difficult to know where the kid has played and how they can even wash their hands. So it's very necessary that we know how to shield and guard these kids over. Dr. Nelly. Hello, Dr.
Hi.
Nelly Adade.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us on ABC in the morning.
Thank you for having me.
Dr. Adade, this CVDPV2 is quite a mouthful. A lot of us may not even know how to mention it. Talk of understanding what it is. What is it and how does it differ from the wild polio virus?
Okay, thank you very much. So let me start from the very basic. Like you rightly mentioned earlier in your introduction, polio is a highly infectious disease which affects children under 5 especially. And usually it causes spinal damage. So it enters the nervous system and then causes paralysis or death, more especially in children under 5, because that is the most vulnerable stage in a child's life because they are developing at that time. And so we have the oral polio vaccine, the OPV, which we give to children, okay, to help them build their immunity against polio later in life. And this OPV, which we give to the children orally, okay, is a weakened form of the live polio virus. And so there are different strains that are put together to bring about this OPV, the oral polio vaccine. However, sometimes in very, very rare instances, okay, this oral polio vaccine, okay, the virus that is ingested gets into the intestine and then is genetically mutated. So it changes its form and character in very rare forms. It's not very common. It's very rare. And this usually occurs in a community of people who are not immunized or have low immunity. Okay. And so the polio virus changes its form and DNA in the human being and then sheds off. The person sheds it off. And this one can actually cause the paralysis, which we are trying to prevent with the OPV vaccine. And so that is why it is called the vaccine-derived polio virus. Okay, so it is derived from the vaccine. And sadly, we know that polio is transmitted from person to person via fecal oral route. And that is why hygiene and sanitation is so important. And I was so glad when you mentioned this earlier. Hand washing, we cannot underestimate it. Okay. And so when we have people in unhygienic states, overcrowded areas, not practicing good hygiene steps, then we have this virus circulating in the environment. And most likely because it is fecal oral, when it's in the person's intestine and the person passes through, you will find the virus in the stool. And that is why I am sure they found this virus in certain areas. So it means that the virus is in the system, it's in the environment, and it's circulating. And because it is transmitted from person to person, you can get it if the person has not practiced good hand washing steps and comes in contact with you, eats with you, shares food communally, shakes your hand, and you also don't wash your hands, and you also eat. And so that is how it's different. This one is from the vaccine, so it's vaccine derived, unlike the wild polio that we know about that causes the paralysis. And unfortunately, this vaccine derived form, when mutated, can also get to the nervous system and cause paralysis or death, especially in children under 5, because they are the most vulnerable at this time.
Dr. Dade, is the current polio vaccine we have effective against this vaccine-derived form of polio?
So, like I said, OPV is very effective. So we are currently using 2 types, the OPV and then the IPV. And both are very, very effective in preventing polio. Like I mentioned earlier, this form is very rare. And statistics worldwide will let you know that it is not common. It is very rare. And that is why the Ministry of Health has declared it as a public health emergency, because it's not something we come about very easily. It's very rare.
Very rare. Kids or children who have already received their polio vaccinations, can we say that they are safe against this strain that has been isolated?
Kids will be safe when vaccinated. Unfortunately, because this form has changed its nature, it's a mutated form, you may still get infected if you come into contact with it. I don't know if it helps. Ideally, we should all be safe. Children should be safe because they have received their polio vaccination. But then those who have not received any form of vaccination at all are at a higher risk. But because this virus is a mutated form, you may still get the polio. You may still get polio if you come into contact with it, if you get infected with it.
As a pediatrician, and I'm sure in your circles you are having conversations about this, what are you doing, or how are you positioning yourselves to protect the children that are with you, the children they bring? We understand that pediatricians are very much concerned about the kids that come to them. So how are you positioning yourselves to play a role so that these kids don't suffer from this strain that has been isolated?
Thank you very much. Once again, it comes down to advocacy and creating awareness, and that is one thing the Pediatric Society is so much into. And as a member of the Pediatric Society, we would continue to advocate, create awareness, educate the public, educate parents, teachers, schools, and we have to let them know that hand washing is a practice that must be continued in schools and at home. So at school, teachers should ensure that children who visit the washrooms are washing their hands. There's clean running water and soap in the washrooms at school for them to wash their hands. After playtime, these children should wash their hands. Before and after every meal, they should wash their hands. And the same practices should be done at home as well. You know, it should not just be at school, but at home. Parents should also ensure that their children are washing their hands frequently and regularly. And also, the fecal matter, we should learn open defecation is not something that should be practiced in this day and age. But unfortunately, we encounter people who are still practicing open defecation. So we need to speak against it. Parents, adults, children who are practicing open defecation, we need to do something about it. So, and even those who are using washrooms, public washrooms, there should be a way of disinfecting the washrooms so that the risk of contacting the polio virus via the fecal oral route is minimized.
Are very vocal on social media about things about pediatrics and health. What would you say to people who still do not believe in vaccinating their children?
This is interesting. Primary prevention is key, and primary prevention starts with education and vaccination. Vaccination has come a long way to protect our children, to protect us from a lot of diseases. I remember when we were growing up, the 6 childhood killer diseases were so common. But with the help of vaccination, we have been able to come this far, and we have been able to save a lot of children like myself who are adults today and yourself. We have been saved from childhood diseases because we were immunized of vaccination. So parents, please, vaccination is so important. It will protect your children. And we know when a lot of children are vaccinated, we tend to cover the few who are left out. And so we call it the herd immunity. Because a lot of children are vaccinated, the few who are left out due to one or two reasons get covered up. But if a lot of children are exposed and are not vaccinated, are not immunized, then it becomes a problem, because then their immune system becomes so vulnerable to pick up a lot of infections and diseases here and there that could mar their future. And some of these diseases will not only kill the child, but could also reduce the quality of life. So your child may not die, but then the quality of life is reduced. If your child has polio and your child is paralyzed, the quality of this child's life will be reduced. You can imagine the stigma associated, how the child will feel, the emotional and psychological torture and trauma this child will go through. This child was once playing, suddenly it's paralyzed, cannot walk, cannot run with his or her friends, it's wheelchair bound. It's so draining on the child and on the family as well. So parents, please,
in my research
vaccination is key. Vaccination is key. I can't emphasize this point.
On my research on polio, I found out that in very unlikely cases, polio could persist in a person's system even 20, 30, 40 years after they have recovered from polio. And it looks like, however we look at it, sometimes we play around it because we don't see it so much in the system, but it has a very lasting and debilitating effect on us as persons. And
it's very true.
Yes, I want to find out finally, before you go, in talking about polio, asking that we wash our hands, we immunize the children. Some countries, some continents have been able to eradicate polio out of their system, so that some people haven't even heard it before there because they haven't seen it before. How can we move on that tangent so that in a few years to come, we too can say that polio has been fully eradicated from Ghana?
So creating a lot of awareness on polio and other childhood diseases is very key. Letting parents understand the importance of vaccination, immunization, and also increasing our surveillance. When we are able to improve our health systems such that we are able to early detection, we pick up these signals very early and then put in measures to prevent them from spreading, we are able to contain the virus and do something about it. So early detection, surveillance, improved surveillance is very important. And vaccination, education. When a lot of children in the public get immunized, others are protected, and everyone is protected as well, because then we form that herd immunity, and then the virus is not able to get into the few who are vulnerable or who are not able to get immunized due to one or two reasons. So education is important. We have to keep spreading the word, keep talking about it, and then the mass immunization we organize frequently. Sometimes the Ministry of Health will set up a time frame and say that we are going around vaccinating children under 5, school to school, house to house. That is also very important, to catch and cover children in other areas who have not yet been vaccinated.
Dr. Nelly Adade.
Hi.
Dr. Nelly Adade is a pediatrician.
Yes.
She told us a lot about polio. You need to vaccinate your children. It's very necessary, especially as more vaccination will create that herd immunity for other children. To help us do more conversation on polio is Mr. Samuel Arthur. He is a public health analyst. Thank you for joining us this morning, sir.
Thank you for having me, and good morning to your cherished listener.
this current situation about the CVDP V2 outbreak in Ghana, what is it, and how dire is it in Ghana at the moment?
Okay, so thank you for the opportunity to add my voice to this discussion. Now, I've been wondering, immediately I heard the health minister declare the public health emergency. I just went back to revise my notes to look at what a public emergency is supposed to be. Now, it is clear that from what the health minister is saying, they took a sample in a certain area and they found that, and for that matter, but if you check the minister's reason why he's declaring the public health emergency, I think this alone is not enough to sound this bell. Because from his narrative, they are still doing assessment, they are still moving around to see where the source of the spread and all that. And it looks like there's still quite scanty information for them to, apart from that sample, which actually proved to be that. So, for me, I guess we are sounding this alarm bell too early, even though it doesn't really spoil anything.
And since you believe we are sounding the alarm too early, what are some of the things that we should see before we sound this alarm?
For me, the ministry should come straight. Let us know exactly what they are doing. It is important that all players in this game, I mean their stakeholders, all of us begin to understand exactly the nature of it, the magnitude of it. Then it helps us all to trigger or to activate various responses to it, particularly in the area of prevention or prevention activities. But as it is, this is an infection that's been found in the stream. But I want to go back to earlier declarations where we were actually declared polio free. So one may want to ask, why now? So it's obvious that I think after COVID we have not learned our lesson, because this disease is also linked to bad sanitary and poor hygiene conditions. Now, so if the ministry is coming back to tell us again that we should be washing our hands and doing that, I want to ask, at the Ministry of Health, do they have those buckets for people to wash their hands, and do they insist that people wash their hands when they enter their facilities? I have been to the headquarters of the DHS. That is actually not enforced. So for me, like they say when the fish will rot, it has to start from the head. Charity begins at home. The ministry itself should demonstrate in health facilities when you go. They should rather put that posture there. So everybody, hand washing becomes a culture that we will live with. But for me, we wait till there's always an epidemic or an outbreak. Then we go back and say, please wash your hand with soap, do this. This is elementary basic hygiene we should be able to cope with. So for me, it looks like we always with like the vulture. We go to sleep, and when it rains, we think immediately we need a shelter.
But Mr. Arthur, hand washing should be a very basic thing that everybody enforces in their homes. Should the ministry have to step in before families and individuals know that they ought to wash their hands?
Yes, of course. For me, it's as basic as that. But you ask yourself, what has been put in place to make sure that this behavior can easily be practiced? For example, we have a country where we have government after government boasting of public toilets that do not have hand washing systems, public toilets that are placed within markets, within lorry stations. None of them have good hand washing systems. You don't find them around. In the schools, we used to see them, but after COVID, it is not there. So it is obvious, it is very basic. But, living with that behavior and making sure that you can maintain it is a problem. And that's why the Ministry of Health, through their public health promotions, they need to up their game. Unfortunately, they need to depend largely on foreign and donor aid to be able to do this public health education. Aside that, even with polio, of course, I don't know if we've had polio vaccine shortage, but you see, there are times that even with the polio, the vaccines, almost all the vaccines, the antigens, all of them actually are financed by people who are outside this country. So as a nation, we don't even have the financial muscle to be able to vaccinate or make sure that children under 5, from 0 to 5, they can conveniently be vaccinated. In some cases, today we have shortage of this vaccine. Tomorrow we have shortage of that vaccine. As long as we continue to break the regime of prevention or protection for these children, some of these outbreaks is likely to come. And I'm not surprised, actually.
Well, Mr. Arthur, as a public health expert on this issue of polio, what will be your advice to members of the public?
Yeah, of course. So the alarm has been sounded. We all know what polio is and what it means and what it has done actually to people who got infected years back and even now. So for me, we all need to be careful. We need to look out for the signs that they are talking about. Irregular signs, we've seen situations. You know, of course, the signs for polio also are not too obvious. They are just like general signs, you know, headaches, dizziness, weakness, which also is associated with most diseases. So for me, let's all be on the lookout. Let's begin to practice, you know, let's up our personal hygiene, the hand washing when we visit the toilet, because we are told that it is found within fecal matter from person to person. So you ask yourself, are we really on course? Now, we are a country that people are still defecating into gutters. People are defecating into rubber bags and throwing into water bodies. All kinds of things are happening in our river bodies. And if you have just polio running through one of the rivers, should that be a scare? We need to wake up as a nation. And for me, until we begin to deal with some of these issues that affect the environment, and particularly our water, we may just be joking then.
Thank you for speaking with us, Mr. Samuel Arthur.
Thank you for your time.
Mr. Samuel Arthur is a public health analyst and expert. So we're still looking at polio. Ministry of Health has declared polio a public health emergency, a strain called the CV. A very, very long name actually, but it is a vaccine-derived strain, and because of that, it's been declared a public health emergency. Like Dr. Nelly Adadi said, wash your hands. Mr. Samuel Arthur has also reiterated that point. Personal hygiene, very basic sanitation is very important. Wash your hands, don't defecate anywhere and all, so that you can save yourself from the very bad effects of contracting polio. So this is the background on the polio virus type 2, which is the CVDPV2, and it is a highly infectious viral disease that largely affects children under 5 years of age. Polio is a viral disease, so it's contracted through a virus. Polio can only be prevented because it has no cure. And the polio vaccine, given multiple times, can protect a child for life. That's why we advocate that parents, your kids under 5 years, do well to have them vaccinated against the risk of contracting polio. It's very necessary. And in July 2019, a circulating vaccine-derived polio virus was confirmed in an environment surveillance sample in Tamale Komblimagu drain in the Tamale Metro in the northern region of Ghana. So this is not the first time this has been seen. A vaccine-derived polio virus has been seen. It happened in Tamale in 2019. And subsequently, the CVDPV2 was isolated from an acute flaccid paralysis case in Ando, Nyamanu, Chirepone districts in the northern region, bordering Togo. You remember that Dr. Adadi said that polio can affect your nervous system. There was an acute flaccid paralysis. Every time you have read on polio, you see that somebody has suffered a certain form of paralysis because they contracted the polio virus. So this is a key for us to pay critical attention to it and do well to maintain good personal hygiene. What is this type 2? It can be transmitted or spread through fecal oral route. What is fecal? Fecal are the feces that we pass. Fecal oral route. People defecate into open water bodies. These same water bodies are what we fetch water from. So there are certain people in certain demographics who still drink water directly from the streams, the rivers that run through their communities. And if you defecate into those water bodies and someone fetches and drinks, and there is the presence of the virus in it, obviously the person is going to contract it. So you can't contract it through that. Somebody's defecated, kids are playing, they catch it, they put their hands in their mouth. All of these things can cause the transmission of polio, amongst other things. This is how you can take care of yourself against polio. As part of the response, the ministry has urged that public take precautionary measures such as improved hand washing. Some of the most basic things we can do as a people: wash our hands. Proper sanitation practices. During COVID, we were taught how to wash our hands. You put your hands through the webs of your fingers. You rub the palms. You rub the back of your hands. You rub the back of your hands. You rub between the webs again. You rub here. Your wrists, you're rubbing your wrists, and then you wash under running water using soap. So the webs, you wash through the webs of your hand, here, the palms, your wrists, and then under running water. You wash your hands under running water. It helps with soap and water. Very simple at that. And during COVID, we realized that a lot of people had learned how to do it and were doing it well. Why are we abandoning it after? We need to take care of ourselves. So washing our hands is very necessary. You visit the washroom and you come out, it's good to wash your hands. You shake people, wash your hands. You pick something from the ground, you wash your hand. It's very necessary. And if as parents and adults we do that, the young ones will see and also emulate that, and it is very necessary that we do this. Ministry of Health has said it. Just wash your hands. Improve your sanitation in your vicinity. Just do, if your vicinity is neat, it saves you and the people around you. It's very necessary that we do this. These are the most basic of the things that we can do as a people to save ourselves, to hedge ourselves against contracting certain viral diseases. It's necessary because polio has no cure. It can only be mitigated, and you don't want to get to that point. You don't want to have your child be paralyzed because of polio. And parents who do not allow for their kids to be vaccinated, we are pleading with you. It is for the interest of your children and for the interest of Mother Ghana that your children be vaccinated. Like the doctor said, when many of the kids are vaccinated, it creates a hedge over all of the children. We will get to a point where we have herd immunity. So many people have it, so that the few that don't have it fall under that immunity bracket. Otherwise, so many of the killer diseases that children contract will happen because we have not been vaccinated. It is very necessary. Parents, we are pleading with you. Allow for your children to be vaccinated. Between the ages of 0 and 5, they haven't built all the immunities that they should have built. They are not strong enough. So please allow them to be vaccinated. It is very necessary. It is because vaccinations, some people say that vaccinations are the best thing to happen to the medical field. They believe that without vaccination, we would have been dying from certain diseases that we shouldn't be dying from. Certain things would have taken a toll on us as a people. So it is very necessary, parents and guardians, to allow your wards be vaccinated. It is very necessary. So we are pleading with you with this public health emergency announcement. Let's kindly go back to the basics. Washing our hands, keeping our surroundings clean, not defecating into open waters or open gutters. Use the bathrooms, the loos. Parents, your children are looking at you and emulating what you do. What you do is what your child will also do. What you do is what your child will also follow. So we are pleading with you to do the right things so that your children will also follow it. And we are pleading with our local authorities, with communities that rely heavily on public toilet facilities. It's necessary that there is running water there. Running water. Many of these public toilets do not have running water. You go to the marketplaces and then there's a barrel outside that when people use the loos and come out, they need to fetch water. They are unable to flush the loo properly. They are unable to keep the place neat. Another person goes there. It's so easy to catch diseases real quick there because of the unhygienic nature of it. But people have no option but to still use the place because that is the only option for them at the moment. So our local authorities, we are calling on you to maintain a very high level of sanitation at these public toilets and public washrooms. Let there be running water. People go there, especially in the marketplaces. There's somebody sitting in front of the toilet collecting money before you use the place. 1 Ghana cedi, 2 Ghana cedi. We ask, where does the money go to? Because you enter the place and you find out that the monies they are taking do not translate to how the place is being taken care of. Polio has been declared, this strain has been declared a public health emergency. We shouldn't wait before it worsens, and then we shouldn't wait till it worsens before we try to scrabble to find ways to deal with it. Since it can be dealt with the easiest and the simplest form of sanitary practices or good sanitary practices, let us start now. Wash your hands under running water with soap, and make sure that you are not defecating into gutters, into water bodies, and also to our public institutions. Make sure that there's always water in your public washrooms. This is Front Story on ABC in the morning, and we've looked at polio and the declaration as a public health emergency in Ghana. Up next is Trends. what is trending in Ghana? How does it affect you? And how important are trends to you? Very necessary that you are abreast with the trends in the country. As far as and so far as and in as much as you use social media, you need to know what is trending, because there's some news that it is only on social media you would get them. Very true, only on social media. So it's necessary that we stay abreast with what is trending so that we are better and well informed. My colleague Godwin is on standby to give us trends this morning. Hello, Godwin.
Hello, Abena.
Godwin, what is trending in Ghana today?
Yeah, just like you mentioned earlier, it is necessary for everybody to know what is trending on social media to stay informed. So today we have Free Ralph trending on Twitter. It is X currently, that's what we call it. And Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is trending. PGWP is also trending. PGWP means postgraduate work permit. And also we have Shatawale trending, and the last person on our trend list is Mohammed Salisu. So we will get straight in. Afterwards, we will look at sport, what is going on in the world of sports. So moving straight, what is trending? Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is trending, and since I to next 3 months, that is 7th December. So the parties have been campaigning, MPP and NDC. So trending because recently there was a poll, something that was predicting the election results for 2024, and Richard Jamfi came to say one of the reasons the NDC has increased the noise decibels lately is because despite their investment in negative media rants against Dr. Bawumia and the NPP, they are still losing. They have incentivized some of the latest straw. The last straw is that their own sponsored research showed they were losing. So he attached some of the poll predicting the election results in favor of the NPP, that is 49.2%, as against the NDC 49.3%. Okay, sorry. So he is predicting against the NPP. And we also have Magvu. Magvu is saying, do you blame the NDC and their emotional supporters with sharp feet? They don't like reading and just feed on lies and misinformation from their top hierarchy. He is also speaking about the polls that was attached. He also attached similar poll from what Richard Jamfi attached. And also, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is still in the trends because he is touring in the central region today, where he will go to Chifo and also go to Himanloa, Mfanseman, and also Denchra. So that is why Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is in the trends for today. And we also have Free Ralph trending. Ralph has been a member of the Fix the Country demonstrators and also a member of the Democracy Hub. So he has been trending because recently, when the NDC embarked on the Enough is Enough demonstration, Ralph went to break the National Cathedral fence for people to enter the fence, and yesterday the Ghana police arrested him at the Kotoka International Airport, where he was enrolled to Kumasi to participate in the Say No to Galamsey demonstration that will be happening in Kumasi. So we have Oliver Baka Vomao. He is the lead convener of the Fix the Country demonstration, and he posted a long statement sympathizing with his colleague Ralph. He is saying, we've just been informed that our colleague Ralph St. Williams, known as Fellow Ghanaians, has been arrested at the Kotoka International Airport when en route to Kumasi for mobilization activities in preparation for Saturday's Say No to the Galamsey protest, organized by Democracy Hub. He went on to say things that will sympathize with his brother and also implore on the Ghana police to release his colleague. And we also have the National Communications Director for the National Democratic Congress, Sami Jemfi, also saying, just when we thought the Ghana police is beginning to wean itself of the dictates of the despotic Akufo-Addo Bawumia government, they decided to arrest Comrade Ralph St. Williams for exposing the useless hole dug by the corrupt NPP government for God is in quote, at a staggering cost of $58 million. Why should the status of that hole, now turned swimming pool, be kept a secret from the people whose taxes were wasted on same? How long will the Ghana Police Service allow themselves to be used for the suppression and harassment of critics of this corrupt NPP government? Ralph should be commended and not arrested with the hashtag Free Ralph. We also have Nyameche Sky writes. He is saying, sometimes I wonder how people think or feel. Hashtag Fix the Country protest is not a targeted one. As such, people has their reservations. You can't just stand up and say, face the country. He talks too much. No youth in Ghana is due a useless death. That is from Nyameye Sky, sorry. And he attached a video of Ralph ranting on social media. And the next trend that we have is PGWP, that is Postgraduate Work Permit. So it is literally about Canadian immigration rules that is being improved by the Canadian government. And this one says, it is coming from McBean Immigration Consult. It says, big changes coming to Canada's immigration system. Starting in 2025, the number of study permits will be reduced by 10%, alongside updates to work permits for spouse and new PGWP language requirements. Stay informed on how this impacts you. And we also have Study in Canada First Post. That is from NIME Education. It is saying, Canada announces fundamental changes in international students' recruitment work permit PGWP, spousal provisions and language proficiency. The background is bright dark, and it attaches some of the changes that has been made. That is extension of the cap and also PGWP provisional changes, sorry. And we also have Rise and Sky Immigration. It is also saying major changes for international students in Canada, study permit cuts and new language requirements. And we also have Shatta Wale trending. Shatta Wale is trending because yesterday he appeared on Rants and Banks. That is a show that Efio-Odo and her colleagues are on. And Shatta Wale stashed huge sums of Ghanaian cedis that he was giving to them on the show. So that is why he is appearing in the trend. With Roland and Twilight saying, Roland is saying Shatta Wale shares huge sum of money to Efio-Odo and friends. And the last person trending is Mohamed Salisu. So yesterday in the UEFA Champions League, Mohamed Salisu featured for AS Monaco against FC Barcelona, where they defeated FC Barcelona 2-1. And this is from Uru Kwampofo. He says, Mohamed Salisu, Monaco against Barcelona tonight. He had the most touches, 70. He has most long pass completed, that is 8. Most duels won, that is 7. Most clearances, that is 4. And most interceptions, 2. No player won more duels in the game than Mohamed Salisu. He won 7 duels. And that brings us to the end of trends for today. Moving on to sports. The Minister of Youth and Sports, the Minister for Youth and Sports, Mustafa Yusuf, will appear before Parliament's Select Committee on Sports to explain the ministry's role in Ghana's 2023 AFCON campaign. He will address how over $3 million was spent during the Black Stars' 11-day stay in Ivory Coast. The parliamentary investigation, starting on September 2024 and chaired by Kubna Woyomi, will hear testimonies from key stakeholders like Ghana Football Association and the Black Stars Management Committee. The probe aims to understand the issues surrounding Ghana's poor AFCON performance, which ended with the team exiting the tournament without a win. And next on our stories is the FIFA ranking. So Ghana Black Stars have dropped significantly in the latest FIFA World Ranking due to underwhelming performances in the 2025 AFCON qualifiers. The team lost in 1-0 to Angola and at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium and drew 1-1 with Niger in Bekane, Morocco. As a result, Ghana now sits third in Group F and has fallen from 64th to 70th globally. The team also dropped 2 positions in the African rankings, now 14th, with Burkina Faso and Cape Verde surpassing them. In the African rankings, Morocco leads, followed by Senegal, Egypt, Cote d'Ivoire, Tunisia, and in that order. We also have Black Stars are set to face Sudan in October for their next AFCON qualifiers. The top 10 teams globally includes Argentina. They are leading the chart, with France following, Spain, England, Brazil, Belgium, Netherlands, Portugal, Colombia, and the 10th spot is for Italy. And that brings us to the end of sports and trends for today. I will hand over to Abna to take it from there. I am Godwin Opokuoche.
Thank you, Godwin. Well, Godwin, you have brought us the trends and the sports news today. I have been updated on sports. I know that the GFA president will be, and then the minister too will be going before the committee. We wait to hear what will transpire at the committee, and I am hoping that Ghana gets to qualify. Although we are still third on the table, we are hoping and fingers crossed that we qualify. That's all for trends. We'll be back. Stay with us.
Attention business owners, it's time to take your business to the next level with ABC News GH Television's mega promo. From August 1st to October 31st, 2024, we're offering you unbeatable deals to advertise your products and services. Don't miss out on this amazing chance to reach more people and grow your brand. For more details, give us a call on 050-993-0360. Remember, terms and conditions apply. Follow us on social media at ABC News GH _.
You are still watching ABC in the morning. I am Abna Mante. Up next is Business Fix. On Business Fix, we are discussing issues that pertain to the financial sector. Business Fix brings you an array of conversations, but today we want to look at Ghana's GDP. From the Ghana Statistical Service, it says that our GDP has expanded by 6.9% in the second quarter of 2024. If you compare it to the second quarter of 2023, our GDP stood at 2.4%. So this is quite a huge expansion from last year 2023, and it is 1% higher compared to the real GDP in the first quarter of 2024. A lot of conversations about GDP, gross domestic product, and to help us understand GDP and see whether the second quarter growth is a way or can tell us that we have turned the corner or we are on our way to turning the corner, Professor Patrick Esuming will be joining us to have this conversation. Professor Esuming is an economist and a lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. He will throw more light on this conversation so that we understand it, to see whether Ghana is turning a corner. This growth, you can say, is pegged on mining, it's pegged on quarrying, it's pegged on crop and other sectors of the economy. We already know that mining is not something you can do in perpetuity. So if our growth is anchored on that at the moment, does it mean that we are standing on a sort of shaky foundation, or we can say that what is good for now, or is it good for now or it is not? But we have seen a growth 6.9% compared to 2.4%. If you do the mathematics, you would say that indeed there's been an expansion, and towards the end of the year maybe we will see that it will get better and better. So this is reported by the Ghana Statistical Service. We are looking at the GDP growth and whether our economy has turned the corner. It's Business Fix on ABC in the morning. Professor Patrick Esuming is an economist and a lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you and good morning to viewers.
Thank you for joining us this morning.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Prof, how would you describe this 6.4% growth in the second quarter of 2024?
Thank you. I think actually it was 6.9, I believe.
6.9, sorry. 6.9, apologies, pardon me.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, this seems to come out of the blue. I think it's way higher than was expected and way higher than the growth we've seen recently. I think this is the highest single quarter growth rate for almost 5 years, which is positive. And I think the other thing that's positive is the number of subsectors that were contracting had declined. In the first quarter, even though we saw a growth rate of 6 or 4.7, about 6 of our 20 subsectors saw contraction. This time, I think there are only 3 or so subsectors that saw contraction. So I think that clearly tells you that if you put this together with the first quarter growth number, clearly this growth number beats expectations and is better than we've done in recent times.
So it beats expectations and better than we've done in recent times. Would you, on this premise, say that the economy has turned the corner, or it is early days yet?
I think it's a little too early, and we cannot use one growth reading or one inflation reading and say the economy has turned the corner. I think the finance ministry has been too quick to say that. In fact, they started saying that sometime now. But when they were saying that initially, obviously the growth wasn't as strong as this. And then they will say the inflation rate has also declined substantially, which is true. But we know that the other indicator that is commonly referred to, the CD, we know it's not doing well at all. But outside of the macroeconomic indicators, we have to know there's some other micro data that has shown that the business environment has not been friendly and households' incomes have really declined. The number of Ghanaians who are multidimensionally poor has increased. So you can't just focus on a couple of readings from the GDP number and say we have recovered. I think if you step on the street and you ask many ordinary Ghanaians, they probably wouldn't have the feeling that we are on a fast recovery. But it is information that shows the economy is gradually getting stronger than before. Even then, I think one of the things we should always notice is that when the economy is growing, the sources of the growth matter. And which subsectors are leading the growth matter? Because there are some sectors that are very capital intensive. So when they grow, it doesn't necessarily translate into a lot of job creation. There are some sectors that are a little bit more labor intensive. There are some sectors that have more Ghanaian participation. So when those sectors are growing, a lot of Ghanaians will feel the benefit. There are some sectors that have relatively little Ghanaian participation. And if you look at the number that was released yesterday during the week, you notice, for instance, that the leading sector was mining and quarrying. The leading subsector was mining and quarrying. The big mines output have, they are mostly controlled by foreigners, and their linkages with the rest of the economy is relatively limited. So that's a slightly different if some subsectors within services are the one leading the growth charge. So I think it's a positive reading, no two ways about that. But I think it shouldn't gloss over the fact that there are still real difficulties that ordinary Ghanaians, households and businesses are facing.
Well, when you talk about ordinary Ghanaians and businesses, when you step out onto the streets and into the markets and you talk about GDP, the average Ghanaian will tell you that it's not GDP that I will eat. It's not GDP that reflects in my pocket. Why is there a disconnect between the GDP and the ordinary Ghanaian? How can we, as we see growth in the GDP, see that same growth in our everyday lives?
Well, I think that's the point. That relates to the point I was just making. That the some sectors are very capital intensive. So if you take mining, for instance, it's extremely capital intensive. And if you take the bigger mines, usually a lot of the ownership and the workers have relatively few Ghanaians compared to if it's SME sector that is leading the growth. That will be a lot of Ghanaian ownership. So which sector is leading the growth matters. I think the reason why there's a disconnect is increasingly the Ghanaian economy has been dominated by foreigners. So what that means is that with foreigners owning a greater share and perhaps some of the most productive sectors, it means that if those sectors are leading the growth charge, then Ghanaians will not necessarily feel it. So overall, in recent times, our growth has generally been jobless growth, meaning we are growing in groups. And when that happens, you see that disconnect between what the macroeconomic indicator is saying and what Ghanaians are saying. So there's something that the government statistician pointed out, which is that the growth is not led by consumption. That is a different way of looking at the growth number. So there's the GDP by production and there's the GDP by expenditures. So when you check the expenditure disaggregation, you realize that the growth rate of consumption actually reduced a little bit. Okay. So all of that tells you that, yes, the economy might be growing, but many Ghanaians will not feel part of the benefit of that growth.
How can we ensure that the local economy begins to drive the GDP if the sectors that are already driving the GDP year on are sectors that obviously are not owned by the local Ghanaian? What should we be doing, and what should we be doing right to have the local economy, the Ghanaian economy, or the local sector drive the GDP by itself?
I think one of the faster ways is to create more linkages, direct linkages between, for instance, the mining and other sectors. So you can have a lot of mining support services that are mostly owned by Ghanaians, or you can have more government ownership in the mine so that there's a little bit more local content. Then you can also do more processing. So processing of the minerals, if government set up mineral processing units, then obviously those ones will likely employ more people than just the mining itself. And then I think a different approach is to make the growth bottom up. And that is supporting smaller businesses to grow. And if that's your source of growth, then automatically you know that Ghanaians are going to feel the benefit because they are the ones driving the business. But I think so part of that strategy is, say, making sure that the business environment is friendlier for Ghanaians. Some of the problems we have is that it's extremely hostile. Interest rates are very high. Cost of doing business is very high. But, the foreign businesses might have different sources of funding. For instance, if they are getting funding from their home countries, a lower interest rate, that will put them at an advantage. So making the business environment more stable and more friendly to businesses will help. And then, of course, deliberately creating linkages that ensure that Ghanaians are able to plug into these major subsectors that are growing.
Okay. But sir, we know that mining is also not an avenue, a venture that you can do in perpetuity. So as we are seeing the growth anchored on sectors like mining, beyond mining, what can we pay attention to so that in the long term we are always sure that this sector will always become a buffer or a cushion for our GDP growth?
I think you're absolutely right that it's a non-renewable resource, mineral deposits. And, we have to plan that at some point these mineral deposits will be no more. And I think that's why it's very important that we make proper use of the proceeds to build more sustainable economic systems. So we have to understand the minerals that we are mining, they are not for only the current generation of Ghanaians. It's for Ghanaians of yesteryears, our generation, and the generations years unborn. So it's very important that a substantial chunk of these funds are set aside and then also used to make some longer term investments within the economy now. For instance, we can say we are going to use proceeds from the mining sector to rebuild and strengthen our energy sector. We know the energy sector is one of the most challenging sectors that we've had. So those are the kind of investment that we should make. But all of this require long-term planning. You have to have a vision about where you want this economy to go and what role various subsectors will play at different points. At the moment, I'm not sure that that has been clearly communicated. So having a vision that Ghanaians believe in, Ghanaians can rally around, Ghanaians can accept. Because even if it requires sacrifices today, there's a hope that over the medium to longer term, there will be benefit for all of us. I think that is something that's been missing.
Sir, we have seen 6.9%. You have said that it is the highest single quarter growth rate in 5 years. We are hoping that it will continue on this upward trajectory. But what are some of the risks that you foresee becoming an undermining factor to this growth that we are enjoying at the moment?
Yeah, very, very good question. I mean, the energy sector remains a very huge risk. I think, incidentally, the electricity production, for instance, has seen negative growth in 2022, 2023. First quarter, I saw another negative growth. This time, we saw a positive growth. And I think while we recommend that people are questioning whether that's going to be sustainable, what strategies have we put that has brought this growth? I think problems with the energy sector is a challenge. And it's a challenge, especially for subsectors like manufacturing and even mining, those that are electricity intensive. So I think it's something, the energy sector challenges, the problems with the debt, the problems and the back and forth. Today, government announces that we've reached an agreement and some industry players come out and say that's not the case. All of that uncertainty is not helpful. And the rising cost of electricity will continue to be a big source of problem. Then there's always election-related uncertainty. That is there. There's not much you can do about it except that to ensure that the lead up to the elections, the election itself, and the immediate aftermath are smooth and devoid of any violence. That's definitely going to be welcome. I think the election itself poses a problem, a challenge for the macroeconomy in the sense that if government doesn't stick to its spending plans and it overspends, as we are wont to do every time, that is going to be a problem. So I think that is something that those are immediate challenges. And then what we all have come to know is the Galamsey menace, which is threatening water systems, threatening food production. You saw that cocoa production saw a 26% decline, which is a problem. So those are things that we have to address. The Galamsey thing is such a serious problem that it's not just threatening the growth number; it's just going to threaten our very existence. So those are important things that have to be addressed.
Okay, sir, you have given us a lot of information on this issue of our GDP in hopes that our GDP continues to sustain. What will be your final words on this conversation of GDP today? Looking at, you have said that we do not necessarily put in long-term measures. Most of our measures are obviously short-term, and it looks like that is what we like in Ghana. We like to do many short to medium term till we get to a certain point. But what will be your recommendations to the government, to the ministry, on looking at a very long term when Ghana is very self-sustaining, Ghana is standing on its 2 feet, and even external forces cannot buckle our economy?
Well, I think the whole idea that, I think there's too much celebration of the GDP number that was released by the finance ministry. While it is a positive thing, I think we should understand that we are nowhere near where we are supposed to be. So it's good to acknowledge that this report paints a better picture about the economy than we previously thought, but it doesn't in any way suggests that we're out of the woods. I think on the question of the longer term, we really have to use the current IMF program to change how the economy is financed. It's been the big source of a problem and is the source of a massive pressure on the currency. So I hope that the powers that be will engineer the financing of the economy away from overdependence on foreign financing, especially the very expensive Eurobonds that we have been doing that led us to the debt exchange. So I hope that we are not trying to do this or whatever the IMF program we are doing. Our focus is not to restore the macroeconomic environment and the fiscal indicators so that we can return to the IMF. No, we should use this opportunity to expand our tax base and build a more robust domestic revenue collection system so that we can be a little bit more self-reliant when it comes to financing of the economy. When you do that, the currency will be stable, and also you'll be able to build a much more sustainable economy.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You are welcome. Have a good evening. Good morning to viewers.
Good morning, sir. Prof. Patrick Esuming is an economist and a lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. On Business Fix today, we have looked at the second quarter GDP growth and looking at whether we have turned a corner. The second quarter saw a 6.9% increase. If you compare to 2023 second quarter had a 2.4% increase. It is a huge increase when we look at the GDP. However, Prof says that it's early days yet, but there's more to do, and we can actually sustain it if we look at very long-term measures. These measures Prof has highlighted to us. He's asking that we expand our tax base and build a more sustainable and robust economy. We should engineer the financing of our economy away from so much foreign aids and like the Euro bonds and all. We shouldn't rely so much on the Euro bonds and all of that, but we should rely on building a very resilient tax base so that we can build a more robust economy. There's so much that are takeaways from today's conversation on the economy, and we are looking at getting to a point where Ghana's economy stands without any aid, stands on its own 2 feet, and does not buckle under any pressure. This is Business Fix on ABC in the morning. Thank you for sticking with us. Next, we are looking at our main discussion. Stay with us. Apologies. Next is Ghana Speaks, where we listen to your voice. We listen to what you have for us. And because your voice matters, we come to you, we come to your doorsteps, we come to your constituency so that you tell us what you are looking for. Election 2024 is coming up, and it is in your power to determine who leads the country, to determine who leads your constituency, to determine who becomes your leader. So we say that your voice matters on Ghana Speaks. So Ghana Speaks is up next. Stay with us.
Eyes are hard, extremely hard.
As we gear towards the 2024 general elections, there have been conversations around having a presidential debate. Will it happen or not? This is Ghana Speaks.
Right, good morning. You are welcome to another section of Ghana Speaks here on ABC in the morning, where we engage with constituents across the country ahead of the elections for them to assess the parliamentary candidates in their constituency and see which one they will be voting for come December 7th. And today we are live from Kaneshie in the Greater Accra region, the Okankwe South constituency, to engage with some constituents ahead of the December 7th polls. In this constituency, there are two key contenders: the sitting MP and Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Dakwa Newman, and the opposition NDC presenting a candidate to rival her. So we'll be engaging these constituents for them to assess the two candidates and look at which one is going to help the Okankwe South constituency and which one they will be even voting for or urging their other electorate within the constituency to vote for come December 7th. I am somewhat Nimabo, as we usually do. We move into the conversations quickly, and I have with me here two ladies and two gentlemen that will be helping me to have this conversation. And on my right, sir, Pacho actually, Pacho Frozen.
Alfred Kwaku Donko.
Okay, Mr. Alfred Kwaku Donko. Auntie Pacho Frozen. Pat. Okay, Auntie Pat. And Pacho Millicent. And Pacho Frozen. Pacho Ebenezer Mensah. So these are the four constituents and electorates within the Okaigbe South constituency that will be engaging for them to assess the performance of the city MP and even assess the two candidates in the upcoming elections come December 7th. Pacho, me shas ya afro ho. Ohwe Okaigbe constituency mu ha. Since 1996, MPP winning some embassy 2020 MPP nessa winner Dakwa Newman and essa winner. Ohwe within this parliamentarians, MPs now especially Newman, within the last 4 years. Wabon modern hours or deserve say Okaigbe South for Esamano another 4 years.
Oh, okay. No, that's haya na meso metwaba. Na in fact, in 4 years ya etwamuno. In fact, why you no maybe a media dance bit say hospitals and library so I be I pay me and so many say to school for be more school fees any other na I'm say 4 years and on near be a year and be and my boss no but now the expect no sa this year no so ye can ho a year akwan hodo bi a esese no de onyi no hu fi so ye free ho e fiti article ko da kuma no em say sa kwan no e ya de a ha adwen pa sa ye bro no yiso nti na kaneshi no oba kaneshi ankasa nso a ye wo bia bi kitikiti bi wo so asese sa ne man wo ye kan because wo hwa sa bro no yiso ha no aduma nheda eni happy sa eni nti ye wo aduma kakra bi wo ho aka asese wo ye eka ho nti em say kakra metimi aka bo anu.
Okay, Auntie Pacho Mamembra so o hwe Dakwa Newman why sisi a minister for gender, children and social protections and ma hu sem ne nkwala hu sem on na hwe so wo Ghana ha nyina within mo emma mo wo a constituency mo ha embo ben pa na Dakwa e de amamo e wo ida mo business mo ananse mo fie den na why amamo area mo.
Okay, me da sefa me de metime de ho dance ye help
insurance
ma otimi ye free screening breast cancer ne ade ena enkwala nso even enkwala nko a otimi ye health insurance ma ye be free ntemi de metime de ho dance wo ya ade wo sa ne ma no pa e de wo ye pa free health screening de wo ye bebre nti for enkwala ne awofo accommodate it's me the more dances
or you be a bit near constituency and answer you be a instead of that one a bit near one.
So I'm going to make a shot. It's a and I'm a no I do a consul. It's a very so maybe never do one. That one, a baby, and I do not push by one child. It's in bed, yes, sure. I don't be the end of what we are. Necessary. Yes, last 4 years, we took to abandon
Kasi ya kwa ya kwa hiyo.
You know the people say obechicha buko ema voice press commission but actually was not ema fine uko overhead mechiwa fine was not be event if you go ya you need 3 days now I found it just I don't know onye no papa onye papa free screening I used to and aduma ko or you people no that one for you it's when you have to do
Patterns and maybe went to about very much. We can say about parliamentary, especially parliamentary about one constituency. What to about since 1986. Over Aguam
96 Senament Abawaha. The best at the club about him is a Amedaka and a Wahasi. One on the free man, Tapu in my car. Banyamin said, why a man a or Hanua for a new. But Ghana, as a cast of 4 years, will be about better 4 years. You need free one man, Banyamin 4 years. Obi dimi wan kwa tina baby as a infant Mrs. Sanya Menina at the sport of money. And the bay a man is 4 years in San Camu, years and said the obey, by Ibia Camona, Abuaye. The Cassie as a son and Yanimuya, no Quanyam in the Ghana, young boy in Nimita. The beer, because what I may be 4 years a year. And you just obey Obas MP, with me as a Sanya Menina at once. Amanai. James Amano, another 4 years. Yes, I'm review.
Now, we see yes, I'm another 4 years. But what we are, MPP for one for about almost our constitution. On yet, new plan on our free party, the same party now, why they more continue almost. Abuam, Mania, and put answers in terms of development, this constitution.
Society and I said, come go there. Be a waha. Yaba, Yaba, and I'm getting 4 years here. The 5 years, which is a sunny back in our one side. And some man was 4 years and they come with you. I know, say, if you are maybe I'm went to me onion, or bit me a day, I hear a man. The maybe I am people, but maybe this year with them, the man is a sakakra. But I am MP was side number them, they call. And maybe the Dapuma dear, yes, some months are 4 years. A man 4 years now, they say, maybe I'm waiting as a son. Yeah, 4 years. I have
so, we see what to about I check. We share about parliamentary elections. Will you say, Abuam, our constituency?
About what Yentimi can say, because we share about what Yamana, Yetimi, Eddie, you will be a seal, a mality enemy. The about to dear, Abuan, not dear about one. What is say, Yenya, Ipedina, Cassadi, Panona 100%. Yenya, there's so yet the said, who did Nipam be no tones and Yenya. Though we said the million deacon Kayano, Dapua or Bayan. Yes, I will beat my baby. I said, 4 years ago, so the more will be set on magic demand. In fact, I will beat my baby going to me. It is last year, 4 years here, but that's a year, I'm a woman. I'm sure when you're 8 years. As was not to have my empty they come to say, and brass was testing NDC, so another part which is 2024 NDC and MPP. Do you want to say a mass will say move free MPP who can among NDC, which I say, I don't know on one mom.
Well, to me, pardon, or come on, oh, we bet me, I say, MPP, ammonia, MPP, ammonia. But me party MPP, ammonia, and some of my man, this pass with their lives. And the MPP, all the way.
I didn't say. MPP nyakura untuma NDC.
Oh, there be omunya na so NDC for maba. Omadi ka omuso maba bi. Enye MPP nkwana. Ya shasa say ya need them atwa 2 times. You hear them 3
times out.
Entino omuso maba bi. Enu show ehu omu performance. Entino said ya omu kan say Abdomako ba obey say ya tia bele ofa. Obi aba o de oba e wo de obeka. Na oba wie nso a e wo de obeye. Entino we no enye bibi foforo. Enye bibi foforo ya ka say oh afina ye beto MP abant no we de afina oba no obeye bibi ama ye sit opa saa no mu nyina ase. Enti ka say se sa ono so ba se de ye ka say we Dakua, onye saa no se benya ne ho asama ka saa because eyi omu nyina saa no entino yen sama Dakua 4 years ne ka dey
anti mama mbra so o adwem no kan se person ka yenko yensesa Dakua emfa numa emfa adoma komra NSMra o hwe NSA so what o chese what dinechi ahwe dia oye ene abi why would you say Okanfe South constituency for me omuma NDC for no 4 years and omuma chance because more time my MPP force why would you say omuma NDC force chance takra
pacho das Dakua beba no o shebo bebre but wa medis omunyina the same thing entino oba esu 4 years ye hu se wa ye bi do se wanye ne nyina entino ankayema Adumako su chance no no sumbra no beye de obeye ne nhwe different between onini Dakua aha entino me de to me ne de ankayen system ne nhwe de ono so ba obetimi abeye omunyina ba omuka de obetimi aka but obetina so a ombeye de obeye Dakua ba ye so be my machine na mesua de pam wosoro so be my machine obetiro e de ni nyina achire ufre na odi enda echina wa mecha machine no onwo yaso ye de ani tumi a ebi kra nko be my machine anka ye mu bebre no ebetimi aso eduma ye den akoni but wan be my sa machine na yaso ye de ani tumi wadi ye hwiambo enti ena esuso oba ababiye nyama bebre enti no ye system na anka ye nhwe se oba ampase obetimi abaye ana enti no ye anka me madwin kire no ndi anka ye system hwe because Dakua aba ehu de waye ena we suso oba abaye nyama bebre enti anka ye system hwe
okay and that's it ejama me brow so what na e mu ha che o hwa eden empuntunjuma eden ne den na mu problem ejuma kwan ensio eden na ye mu ha pa ewo area mu
aha mo de ba ejuma sem eka ana fe so ye gata ni mu no kwanya me ni mu ni enkoyi kura gata ne de mu ne enkoyi kura fi ankasa wa hanzo bon pa ejuma sem ni ade na fa enzo enkwasi asem ne kubolo fonkwa da ne mu ye ya no so maniema ntimi eden enkoye ndida bia SMP ni betina so a ade bia ne 4 years nya se bia eden e kan dia ne sa ne man to ntimi ase san ne man dia to kwa ne MPP obeba ha bia no obre to kwa nya me anim ni ana Ghana za dia ba ko so me hu ne se me ye MPP ni na se MPP ni betina se ne man enkoye ase metu atia no e de se metu atia ase de bia e travel de travel eno na e haye no ze betima ahwe sa ne man ne tima ko ye man Ghana no ama na kwere ni no e bebo ani nya se me MPP ni MPP ne teso aniema nkoye twase wono ana wose metoma no dabi ye nya sa aniema no ye hu se sa anipa wo baaye no bede to ne niema wa be ye ho no ma ebetimi aboa wo man no ye sa ma ne chance wo fura kan ho a ye mfa ma ne kan ho na eden emua
o kire se o to amada kuma not because we MPP ni but na adwumenti
me na adwumenti ana ma to ama no yeah
okay
because NDC na oba na me nyanhunu ne wono nse di ositiye ye sa man 4 years kan hu bie mu dia ene ebe hu da ko ane modern ba heden bobo
okay that's it. These are the voices of some constituents within the Okanfe South constituency of the Greater Accra region. As you've heard, they spoke in Chi, so I'll do a bit of summary. The two on my left, the lady and the man on the far left, are saying that they would vote for Dakwa Newman come December 7th for her work. The lady says that even if she hasn't performed, she will still vote for Dakwa Newman because she's an NPP person. But the man on my right is also saying that he will equally vote for Dakwa Newman based on the works she has done in this constituency. However, the lady on my far right has argued that Dakwa doesn't deserve another 4th term. However, the constituent of Okalpe South constituency should vote for change come December 7th, 2024. They should test the NDC parliamentary candidate in the person of Ernest Adomako to see what he also has for the constituency. And she believes that a change in the voting pattern would translate into development for the constituency. As I have mentioned at the beginning, this constituency is largely an NPP dominated constituency, as the party NPP has won in this constituency since 1996, and they are seeking to win once again on December 7, 2024. Let's see whether the people of Okalpe South vote for change and vote for an NDC candidate, or they will maintain the NPP sitting parliamentary candidate in this constituency. This has been Ghana Space from the Okalpe South constituency. I am someone who will catch me live from other constituencies as we continue our constituency tour in the Greater Accra region here on Ghana Space.
Times are hard in Ghana, extremely hard.
As we gear towards the 2024 general elections, there have been conversations around having a presidential debate. Will it happen or not? This is Ghana Speak.
You heard Ghana Speak. Ghana has a voice and Ghana must speak. So we'll be coming to your constituencies. You tell us what you're expecting ahead of the elections. So that was Ghana Speak. Let's get straight into our main discussion for today. The President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has assented to the Affirmative Action Gender Equity Act that Parliament passed on 30th July 2024. Like I said when we were opening the show earlier, this is good news. This is personally, it is good news for me. I am happy that the President has assented, has appended his signature to it. Yesterday, the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Dakwa Newman, she posted on her X page that the President had assented to the act. And the next step is implementation. Implementation is what we are looking at, the next step. You would recall that this affirmative action bill had been in Parliament since 2011, over 10 years, since 2011, and it was just in this year, on 30th July 2024, that Parliament unanimously passed the bill. They unanimously passed the bill, and the President has finally assented to it. This is a bill or an act. This act which the President has assented to will go a long way to ensuring gender parity in the country. A sure and long way to ensure gender parity 50-50 and address the historical and systemic gender imbalances in Ghana's fabric, in our political, social, economic and cultural landscape. Gender finds expression in every aspect of our lives as a people, and people have lived experiences from the way gender is not balanced, the imbalances. People have experiences and they can speak to it. So I am happy about this. We'll have more conversation on this, but to join us and help us have a conversation on the assenting of the act is Esther Darko-Mensah. She is a gender activist and project manager for Gender Studies and Human Rights Documentation Center. Esther joins us via Zoom. Good morning, Esther.
Good morning. How are you all?
Fine, thank you. We hope you're also fine.
By God's grace.
Wonderful. Esther, this bill has been assented by the president. How do you welcome the news?
It is indeed a great news for every woman, and I think most men, especially those who have been in the forefront with most women's rights and gender activists. Everybody will say it is a great news because it's been a long year. I think it was just last week that the women were even celebrating the Women's Manifesto and some of the things that were able to bring us this far on the affirmative action bill. So everybody is happy. Everybody. I for one, am super excited.
Well, the next step for this bill for this act is implementation. What would you say should be the first thing to tackle in implementing the act?
What I will say is, behold on the government that has assented to it. You know, normally we have lots of laws lying down that has been passed, but when it comes to implementation, it gets very difficult. And first, we are praying that as it has been assented, governments that will come, whether the NPP, PNC, NDC, will come and respect the law and help its implementation. What we mean by implementation is putting things into action. Because already, when you look at the system, there's obviously inequality. That's why we fought to this far. So for starters, if there are going to be ministerial appointments, then they have to quickly know that if you are taking 10 ministers on certain roles, and unlike first, earlier it was going to be 9 male ministers, 1 female. The action has to start right now, even as we finish election, when the appointments are coming, that if we take 10 ministers, we'll get at least 4 or 5.
Ma'am, before you go on, please position yourself so that we can see you clearly in the Zoom.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are you okay?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Okay.
Please go on.
So for this one, it's so simple for its implementation. The action is for our leaders, for both formal and informal sectors, to start identifying the loopholes and quickly assigning the roles. So I was saying that if they have to take about, for example, board members, you see on television, you read in the newspapers, a board has been set. There are places, 10 board members, they will all be male. There are places, 10 board members, 8 female, 2. So the action will start when our leaders, those in authority, assigning these roles, will know that now that the affirmative action bill has been accepted to and has come to be law, when they are assigning roles for higher positions, they should know the way they will take up both the male and female, the percentage.
Okay. We know that there are economic inequalities between men and women in the country. Our informal sector is largely driven by women. Even in our cultural lives, women go to the farms with their husbands. They provide a lot of informal services to their husbands, but at the end of the day, we do not see the expression in their lives. Their economic life is always curtailed because of the imbalances in the system. How should the bill and how will the bill address these imbalances?
So that is, just as you said, if you look at the system, for example, even if you look at economic management team, there are 7 members. There's not one single female.
Hello, Esther.
And if we don't have just a single woman in there, when they are making decisions, definitely it will be biased. So I believe that just as it has been passed, leaders, as we keep on saying, should try to bring women on board in every sphere.
So we are talking to Esther Darko-Mensah, who is a gender activist.
Bring ideas, exactly. My program manager, I remember, made this analyze this thing. For example, she said those who built Kolebu, if they had
We're facing a few technical challenges, but we will definitely establish contacts with Esther so that we can have more conversation on this bill.
Are you getting me? They will never have done that on the 7th floor because when women are pregnant, if a woman is involved, will be the only one who will let them know that a pregnant woman can't be climbing a 7th floor. Men don't get pregnant. So the fact is now that they have to see to it that every part in the economic and social sector, just as you said, especially the informal sector, whenever every decision has to be made.
Reposition yourself again for us.
Whenever every position has to be made, they have to make it important to add women.
They have to make it important to add women. Women have also complained in various sectors, especially all over the world, that in the medical field, because some of them believe that because men do not have their lived experiences, it is very easy for their symptoms to be dismissed as doing too much. In the passage of this bill, where now we're going to enlighten more people about what it means to be a woman, what it means to be at the receiving end of imbalances. How can we do well to enter sectors like the medical sector and other sectors that persons, women, have complained that the representation that is low there has accounted to some of their mixed diagnosis?
There are low representation of you mean low representation of doctors or nurses?
Doctors in the medical field. Conversations have come up that in the medical field, women are highly likely to want to go to female doctors because anytime they have met male doctors, especially about reproductive health, because the male doctors have not lived their experiences as women, it is highly likely that their symptoms are disregarded as they are doing too much. So now that we have an act like this, a law like this in Ghana, how can we enter spaces like the medical space so that we sensitize them the more to understand that these are lived experiences of women? Because some of them do not understand it, women face imbalances and they complain that when they meet female doctors, their quality of health delivery is better than when they meet male doctors.
Honestly, for what I will say is that because when it comes to women, gynecological and obstetrician stuff, I believe that there have been a lot of good male doctors. For one, most women will testify, but your question, I'm not sure. I haven't had any baseline study to ascertain the fact that the male doctors don't feel their pain. The thing is that just as you are saying, the only thing we can do is to now encourage a lot of females to do those doing science to also pick up the gynecological side, because if we don't do that, there's no way a hospital will just let a female doctor see maternal women if you've not specialized in that. So from the scratch, we have to encourage the female students that it is important or it's nice to also practice when they, by the third year,
Mr. Star, kindly position yourself all again for us. Thank you.
Really, sorry. Major in the gynecological side, because for when we are talking about that, for a gender activist, for me personally, I will tell you that a male gynecologist is equally good like a female gynecologist.
In our bill, we are looking at a 5% employment quota for persons with disabilities. Isn't this number too small?
Okay, so when you come to the 5% quota, let's ask ourselves, in all our discussions, where are they? Are you getting me? They don't even feature them. So from start, if we give them 5%, and by the time that we have more women in higher positions, you realize that from 5, it will gradually grow, because even with the 50-50 we are talking about with the affirmative action bill, it's going on a gradual process. From 2024 to 2026, we have said that they should at least give 30%. By 2026 to 2027, 2028, let's see, we will get to 35. And our main goal is by 2030, then we are there at the 50-50, because change is not easy as that. So just like the people with the disability, I strongly believe that the 5% quota, someone will say is small, but let's look at the bigger picture. Where are they standing now? They don't even recognize them, but which they are very equally important, very, very important. So for me, I will even forget about the percentage and let's move on, start the work, and we will realize that they will even come to take higher percentage than any of the women, the men, and all that.
Before you go, finally, what mechanisms can we implement to sustain the implementation of this act beyond this government and any other government that may come?
So what we have to do is that any government that comes, we should make the noise for them to know that when a law is passed, then it doesn't become a party's manifesto or a party's policy. Because normally there are certain things that are policies. And when policies are there, this party A will come, work with it. By the time party B will come, party B will say that I don't like this one, they change it. But once it has come as a law, every party that comes, whether party A or party B, should know that they are going to go by the law as it says and see to it that both the public in our social life, the informal sector, all positions and all things that have been shared in authority, they should see to it that they are going by the quota that has been given in the law. That will be the best way for us to move with it.
Thank you for speaking with us, ma'am.
Thank you.
Esther Darko-Mensah is a gender activist. She's helped us with this conversation on the passage of the assenting of the law, the Gender Affirmative Action, Gender Equity Law. The President has assented to it. The Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection yesterday posted on her X platform that the President has assented to it. And what's next is implementation. You'd recall that on 30th July 2024, Parliament unanimously passed the bill into an act after more than 11 years of the bill being in Parliament. The bill was presented to Parliament in 2011, and finally the bill was passed into an act in July, and now the President has assented to it. This act is looking at getting or letting us get towards 50-50 gender parity to eliminate the imbalances in our historical and cultural and all of the facets of the fabric of our economy, of the society, of our Ghanaian society, because we know that there are gender imbalances everywhere. Gender imbalances account for so many of the things that women and other marginalized groups have gone through or have endured, and this is the conversation we are having. Stay with us, we'll be back. Our main discussion, we are discussing the Affirmative Action Act, the Gender Equity, which is looking at 50-50 gender parity and also eliminating, addressing historical and systemic gender imbalances in the fabric of our Ghanaian system. Let's take a look at what the act is. The Affirmative Action Gender Equity Act 2024. These are the historical efforts and current representation. The representation of the People's Act of 1959 allowed for unopposed representation of women in the National Assembly. So as far back as 1959, the People's Act, representation of the People's Act, allowed for unopposed representation of women in the National Assembly. And the Women's Manifesto for Ghana, which was launched in 2004, further highlighted what happened in 1959, the need for gender parity in governance and public life. The need for gender parity in governance in public life. So we should have 50-50 in governance and in public life. And the question is, are we seeing that in our governance? Are we seeing that in the public sector? Are we seeing that? Despite these efforts, Ghana's progress has been slow. And 2021 Global Gender Gap Index by the Afrobarometer ranked Ghana 117th out of 156 countries. Quite low on the scale. We ranked quite low because 117 out of 156 is quite low. Currently in the 8th Parliament, only 14% of women make up the Parliament, with local governance elections producing less than 5% of female representation. If the Women's Manifesto is anything to go by, we should have been looking at 50% representation of women in Parliament. However, in this current Parliament, women's representation stands at only 14%, and in the local level, it's even less and sad, with only 5% of women or female representation in governance. This is the purpose of the Affirmative Action Gender Equity Act of 2024. It is to ensure the achievement of gender equality in political, social, economic, educational, and cultural spheres of the society. By various social interventions, we've seen that the percentage of women or females in our basic and second cycle institutions have gone up. However, you realize that in our education, you would always find that teachers, even teachers and other persons who in some way think they are well-meaning persons, will encourage the male child to do programs or to undertake programs like science, because they believe that it is a man or a guy who can do this, and tell the lady that, oh, look at another option. Other options are good, but why is it that when it comes to the sector of STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, we are seeing lower representation of women in there? So this act is supposed to check and ensure that we achieve gender equality in these places. In the economic sector, women are driving our informal sector so much. However, what do they get from the place? Many men make more from these sectors than women. Women have assisted their husbands or have worked hand in hand. They have collaborated with their husbands on their farms and in various places. Their husbands die and the women do not make anything from these farms anymore. Another family member is given it because of cultural undertones. What happened to this woman who has tilled the land her whole life? In our social circles, we see the various imbalances. We see the various imbalances in these things, and the act is supposed to check the imbalances in the various spheres of our society. The implementation of this act and the achievements of the targets shall be progressive and subject to evaluation in accordance with the first schedule. It will be progressive and subject to evaluation, and it is my personal hope that as it's evaluated, we will see a growth. After each evaluation, we will see a very steady growth of this. And the act also seeks to redress gender imbalance by ensuring that government promotes policies and programs to redress the political, social, economic, and educational gender imbalance in the public and private sectors. It is not a secret that there are imbalances in the various fabrics of our society, in the various sectors of the society. But this Affirmative Action and Gender Equity Act is coming to look at all of these imbalances so that we will reach that 50-50 gender parity that we are all looking for in the country. So I will urge all of us as well-meaning Ghanaians to support this law so that we reach 50-50 gender parity and also address all of the historical and systemic gender imbalances, because when we address these imbalances, we make the country and the society better. We'll be back. ABC News Ghana and ABC in the Morning is still going on. Thank you. NPP has threatened EC that if EC succumbs to the pressures from the NDC for the independent forensic audit, the NPP will also protest. The NPP said there's in a press conference where their General Secretary, Justin Frimpong Kodia, spoke. Let's take a listen.
The NPP finds it difficult to comprehend the call by the NDC for an independent forensic audit of the provisional register for the 2024 general elections on the basis of alleged errors and discrepancies. Ladies and gentlemen, in addressing the critical matter of this nature, the law and history must always serve as for an independent forensic audit of the register in 2015. Why should it be done now? In playing the devil's advocate, let us even admit that there are errors with the provisional register. We humbly ask, how can such errors be corrected when the NDC are refusing to present evidence of errors to the Electoral Commission, the body clothed with the legal authority to supervise the compilation of the voters' register? Ladies and gentlemen, we can equally not forget the words of former President Mahama, who in October 2015 stated that the Electoral Commission is an independent body mandated by law to decide what to do. So is a video of Mr. Mahama. Let's come for an independent forensic audit of the register in 2015 of the petition submitted by the NDC to the Electoral Commission vis-a-vis the provision of the CI 127 establishes one undisputed fact that there is no need for an independent forensic audit of the provisional register, as the existing electoral laws offer a clear pathway to resolve.
We just heard the General Secretary of the NPP, Justin Frimpong Kodia. He says that the NPP will protest against the EC if the EC succumbs to the pressures from the NDC for an independent forensic audit. We have joining us Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer, who is the Deputy Director of Elections and IT for the NDC. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, dear. How are you?
Fine, thank you, sir. I hope you're also fine.
Yeah, I'm terrific.
He says they will protest if the EC grants your request for an independent forensic audit. What do you make of their words?
You see, the NPP should be dismissed with alacrity. I mean, they are confident tricksters in the whole of this business that we are in. In fact, the hypocritical nature of them should be, in fact, you should just dismiss it. I'm holding their press release, the one they read yesterday, the press conference. And I'm referring you to page 4 of the press conference. And then you will see that these people are just confident tricksters. They are not even serious people. They were quoting wrong laws to buttress their point. Assuming it was in the court of law, they would have been dismissed. They would throw them out on technical grounds. Listen to what he said. That CI 91, as amended by CI 127, there is nothing like that. There's nothing like that. And they went further to quote from that CI. They said, for emphasis, CI 127 makes provision for resolution of discrepancies such as the inclusion of omitted names, removal of names of deceased voters from the register, correction of wrong spelling of names, correction to wrong registration center codes, replacement of poor voter ID card. This is absolutely lies. CI 127 has nothing to do with registration and exhibition. CI 127 is about voting. It has something to do with about elections. CI 91 is where you talk of exhibition, registration, and all its antecedents. So what were they quoting? Who wrote that in for them? So why should we even be talking about people who still not to understand our electoral laws? And they are governing us. So are you not surprised why we are where we are? In any case, let's look at the veracity of the matter. In 2016, when the same NPP, through Baumia, they were banding 80,000 Togolese names around and saying that they were in our register. Their youth organizer was screaming fire and saying that if they don't audit the register to remove these Togolese and all that, their national chairman, McMahon, all of them, they were all over the place. A committee was set. Why is it that they didn't refuse to go and appear before the committee? They made an appearance before the committee, Justice Crab Committee. The NPP made an appearance to justify why the Togolese names should be removed from the register. We also made appearance before Justice Crab Committee. Justice Crab Committee was an external body. They were not members of the Electoral Commission. They were not members. It was an external body. So we are also calling for similar external body, looking at the magnitude of the problem we are dealing with, to come so that we make appearance before the external body. NPP, if they so think that the discrepancies we are talking of doesn't exist, they should make appearance before the body, so that both of us will argue our case to see whether the Electoral Commission, who has already admitted that there are problems in the register, who has even went ahead to interdict their own officers for having indulged in illegal transfers. NPP is telling us that we have no case. Then it means Electoral Commission today have no case when they talk of correcting the register. What kind of hypocrisy is that?
Dr. Tanko, you submitted a petition to the EC earlier this week. Have you received any response from them?
They indicated they have received the petition and they are working on it, and they will respond appropriately to our petition. Well, we are waiting for them. We've given them 1 week to respond appropriately. Simple request. We are just asking that, look, forensic audit should be instituted to audit your IT system in the register, re-exhibit the register. Let's have a stakeholder forum to discuss the calendar, because a lot of things has gone down the drain, and we need to look at it critically. These are the things we are talking of. I mean, so why are they finding it difficult to concede that actually they have issues and needed external body to support in trying to resolve all these issues? What is their problem? What are they hiding from Ghanaians?
The NDC keeps mentioning that EC is hiding something. In various conversations, you've said what's the EC hiding from Ghanaians, but the EC has also said that they are committed to transparency. Why does the NDC think that the EC is hiding something? On what leg are we standing on to say that?
Yeah, if they are not hiding anything from Ghanaians, why they don't want a body to audit their register and their IT system? If you have nothing to hide, their motto is transparency, fairness and integrity. Now this integrity aspect has been battered. They don't have any integrity for anybody to respect them again. Fairness, completely, they are not fair to even we the stakeholders in the political party. Look at the time they gave us the register. Transparency, they don't even want you, the media, to come near and cover whatever we are discussing in their office. Are they transparent? So you see, if you look at their motto, this current Electoral Commission, they have bastardized their own motto. And I'm saying that they are hiding a lot of things from Ghanaians. When we talk of the Pusiga incident, they came out and said it was only 38. As we speak now, a lot of districts are reporting that matter. Tolong, we reported about issues. Ahafo region, Bono region, they have just transferred a lot of people out of their polling stations without their knowledge. What are they hiding from Ghanaians? Bring them on. That's why we are asking them, let's open up the system. Let an external body come and we all investigate the register. And see, you have added almost 240-something thousand illegal transfers into the register, and we are asking you to remove it. You said yes, it was an error. Which error? NPP is telling the whole world that it's not an error because there's no evidence. Now, the Electoral Commission themselves has admitted that there's evidence. It's an error. Who are we to believe?
Dr. Tanko, with your comments on the ECA, and when I say your, I mean the party, it seems that you do not even trust the EC to hold the elections this year.
My brother, am I the one to, dear sister, sorry, am I the one to tell you that you need not to trust this Electoral Commission? Trusting this Electoral Commission is like getting your own coffin and preparing for your grave. This Electoral Commission, who uses Coral Draw to add up figures and all that, how can I trust such an Electoral Commission? When we did the registration, I said they were coming out with wrong figures. They were changing out wrong figures. It has to take the NDC to correct those figures. Where were MPP? They were quiet. Is it because it was in their interest that they were changing the wrong figures? How can I trust such an electoral commission? An electoral commission which is a wing of NPP, because they have appointed their party apparatchiks. Party supporters have been appointed to be IT officers and commissioners in the electoral commission. And we think that I should trust such a commission. Do you think Apiahini, Dr. Apiahini, who is there as a commissioner, will be happy seeing NDC coming to power? This is the question you should be asking them.
Dr. Tanko, there has been a time when you have trusted the EC so much. Can someone also, based on what you are saying, say that at that time the EC was working in your favor?
Yeah. See, that's the mistake you people are always making. Because the name is called Electoral Commission. You think the Electoral Commission of yesteryear is what we are seeing today? Tell me, what was the position? What was the colors of Afarjan and the deputies? Tell me, which political party could you trace them to? When Afarjan was there with his deputies and other commissioners, tell me, could you trace them to any political party? When Charlotte Osei came and took over from Afarjan, can you trace Charlotte Osei political lead? Tell me, Charlotte Osei was the head of NCC before she was moved to the Electoral Commission. She was heading a constitutional body. And that one, she excelled in that part before she was moved to this. Tell me the political leaning of Amadou Sule. You couldn't. But now we have a commission made up of party supporters. I've just mentioned Dr. Apiahini for you. Apiahini was the NPP Director of Elections, Bono Region, and IT. He collected their results for them. We've been crossing fire with him on TV and on the radio about MPP performance and all that. Today he's a commissioner. But can you compare that one to Dr. Afarjan era? So don't compare those things and say that we're doing that. These were serious commissioners who knew what they were about and were doing their work tactically, make sure that they protect the interests of every Ghanaian. Now we are having a commission that is made up of party supporters, party activists. You want us to profile all of them for you one by one, and you will see who are they. They are sitting there calling themselves commissioners. What do you expect?
Dr. Sanko, amongst other groups, Kodeo and some other personalities have asked that your party, NDC, come to the table with your demands. You should come to an IPAC table so that all stakeholders can also sit at the table and deliberate on the demands that the NDC has. But you are not considering the option. Why?
You see, Kodeo should not school us how to go about our issue. Kodeo has been in existence since Afarjan time and all that. When MPP, they were funding their alleged 80,000 and all that, where were they? Kodeo, where were they? Why didn't they advise them they should present their issues to IPAC? Instead of calling that there was an audit, IE, Madam Chinmensa was a director of IE, or you forgot that she was a executive director of IE, when she called for external bodies to come and audit the Electoral Commission. What has changed today? Didn't they know that there was IPAC? At that time, wasn't it IPAC? Is IPAC an audit body? What are they talking about? If that is the interest of Kodeo, they should go and see and find themselves somewhere. We are not going there. We have already engaged the Electoral Commission and we told them our mind. We spoke our mind about it. This is not the first time. Madam Jean Mensah was the IEA director. When she is on record, 20th October 2015, call on the Electoral Commission for an external body to audit the Electoral Commission register. Today, she's sitting there as the commissioner. You know the Electoral Commission. That's what I'm saying. There's no principle in this country. We don't go by our own principles.
Dr. Zanko, it seems you have a very entrenched position and nothing is going to sway you from your position. Aren't you becoming headstrong?
We are not headstrong. We just want, you see, we are protecting the interests of Ghana democracy. We all want to continue to enjoy peace. Dear, we all want to continue to enjoy peace in Ghana. And the only way we can enjoy peace is to have a clean register, so that register can elect a proper president for us, the president we all want. not an illegal president. Somebody want to an illegal president to be elected for Ghanaians. That is what they are trying to do by manipulating the register ahead of time, so that you go and elect, and they will legitimize that illegality during voting. Should we allow that? If we hadn't seen this illegality, the 15,000 displacement they've done by transferring people illegally, the 243,000 they've added. What was the difference between Atamils and Nanado in the first round? Go and check. 2008, what was the difference? Are you aware that somebody went to Parliament with 3 votes? Tema East also. 3 votes. Difference between the NDC and the NPP was just 1, 2, 3 votes. You are talking of 243,000. We should keep our mouth and say that allow these people who mess it up, those who did it, who use terms like we deliberately added those numbers, to go back and deliberately do it, so that last minute they come and dump a register for us. And then if you don't want, then we boycott the elections. We are not boycotting the election. They must do the right thing, and John Mahama is going to win this election. Maybe that's what they don't want to hear, and they will hear that.
Doc, the NPP's presser that they held, the NPP said that you, the NDC, have failed to present the EC your claims and evidence of your claims.
That's why I say dismiss them. Completely dismiss them. They don't even know what they are talking about.
You should dismiss your major
opponents. The issues we presented to the Electoral Commission led to some of them being interdicted. They came out and accepted that, yes, there were discrepancies in the register. They are working on it. So what is the NPP talking about? The body that you are trying to help, that body too is saying that, yes, it's true, we have problems with our register. Our officers have compromised the register. And you are defending them. How can you cry more than the brief? That's the question we should have. Why the NPP cry more than the brief?
Dr. Sanko, if
allow the Electoral Commission to cry.
If after 1 week the Electoral Commission does not respond to your request, what are you going to do?
We have other plans for them. We have very beautiful plans lined up for them.
When you say beautiful lineup, what are we looking at, Dr. Sanko?
Oh dear, when we get there, we'll cross. We are all Ghanaians. We all want to protect the democracy. I want the democracy to continue after December 7th, so that we all enjoy this talking days we are talking. You see, Ghana is a very beautiful country. See the way we are talking. Other regions, you won't get it. Sub-regions, you won't get this kind of thing because of our democracy. Is that not true? And so, if we do things that will protect the democracy, then NDC will do it. And that's what we are telling them. If they don't respond, we have other plans for them.
Dr. Sanko, during your protests, your chairman used certain words in his response to the media, and we kept hearing war in it. Don't be docile, stand against the people who fight against, and all of that. Dr. Sanko, don't you think that you are slowly and gradually beating a drum that will cause instability in the country?
Oh dear, certainly then you are misquoting our national chamber. He was just warning the country that we should be careful the path we are cruising. That's why he was telling Ghanaians, we should be very careful. If these things are happening, do you know that the trouble Ghana will go through if we don't have a better election? Look at the sub-regions. Do you know why they are having all this trouble? Because of elections. Because of elections. Manipulating election process is dangerous. It can lead the country into anarchy that we cannot solve. Because the people must decide who should lead them. Not some few people who sit in their air-conditioned office and decide who should be the leader of the country. That is what he was warning Ghanaians against. Stalin said this in 1924. Joseph Stalin, he was a Russian brutal dictator. When the people were calling for elections to elect their leaders, he made a statement that those who cast the vote decide nothing, but rather those who count the vote decide everything. That is what the NPP is trying to do with the Electoral Commission. We, the Ghanaians, will go and cast our vote, and we cannot decide who should be our leader. But Electoral Commission, who counts the vote, they want to decide who should be our leader. Is that what you want? That's why he was warning people. The Electoral Commission is trying to manipulate a register that will be used to count who should be the leader of this country. And that is what we are preventing. We are saying, no, that is not your business. Capture the data as it is. This number of people have gone to register. Their names are in the register. These people have asked for transfer. You have transferred them, correct? I haven't asked for transfer. Why do you transfer me? Yeah, I'm asking you, assuming you, December 7, you go to vote, ABC polling station, and now they tell you that day, your name is in Bolga police station. Can you fly to Bolga and vote at that day? They've displaced you. That's disenfranchising you as well. So you cannot vote. Although your name is in the register, but it's in Bolga. You are in Accra here. And they'll put your name in Bolga. That's what they have done. 15,000 of such names.
Dr. Tanko.
And you think that we should allow this? You do this, you have folded the arms of the opposition and say we should go into boxing ring. Meanwhile, you have tied my arms behind me. What kind of boxing ring are we going to do?
Dr. Tanko, away from the EC a bit, let's get into conversations that have occupied our airwaves for a while now. The conversation on illegal mining in Galamsey in Ghana. There have been so many calls to ban small-scale mining, although small-scale mining is not illegal in the country. Recent on the conversation is the president of the National House of Chiefs, Oji Ahoho Yaojebi II. He says that he's rejecting the calls for the ban on small-scale mining in Ghana. What do you say about that?
You see, the issue about Galamsey can only be resolved when MPP is booted out from office. This thing we are, you see, let's call spade a spade, not a long spoon. The only thing that can solve Galamsey in Ghana is to boot out MPP come December 7. All these talks we are talking of, nothing will come out of it unless MPP is voted out. Because the MPP is deeply involved in Galamsey. All their ministers, their DCs and other things, they have been compromised in this Galamsey business.
Dr. Tanko, you say all their ministers, all their DCs. That's a very blanket statement.
When Dr. Professor Frimpong, then Minister for Environment and all that, you don't read his report. When he said about what he said about Galamsey and the ministers who were involved and DCs, they couldn't resolve it. They are neck deep. This government is neck deep in Galamsey. They cannot resolve it. Look, even if they go and bring CIA and FBI into this country currently, they cannot resolve Galamsey because those people who are supposed to resolve it are compromised in it. So how can you resolve a matter like that? The only way out is we have our day, December 7th. Let's come out in our numbers. Vote out Nanado and his apparatchiks. When they are out of government, we will resolve Galamsey. Where are the excavators? The 500 excavators, where are they? I'm asking you, you know it, you cover it. The retrieve excavator, where are they? They have flipped, you can't even find them. They were talking of Guinea fowl, they have feathers they can fly. Excavators, does it have feathers to fly? You can't trace them. You, the media, you are quiet about it. You are not even saying anything. You think that then we have short memories. We know everything. This government is involved. Why have they gone to pass an airline that allowed them to mine in forest reserves? These people, because they know what they are doing. Akonta Mine and Co. What are they doing over there? And you think we should keep our mouth? We are not worried because we are left with some 2.5 months to boot these people out, vote them out completely, so that we can conserve our natural environment. Otherwise, these people, I'm told, hospitals now you go, deformities. Children are being born without eyes. Some are born without ears. Some are born with
Dr. Tanko, you are told, but you haven't seen.
I have seen it in Konfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital. Go there and see. The doctors were talking about it. They were talking about heavy lead they have seen in pregnant women that is coming from those mining communities. Very soon, you will start eating lead in the market because all the foodstuffs coming from those mining communities and other things. You will see the problem you get in Accra if you don't stop this MPP and think that you are far away from the Galamsey. They will bring all this propagation into your doorstep very soon unless we stop them. I visited Amenfi Central, Amenfi West. What I saw there, just by the roadside, excavated, digging, with security men all over. Nobody was stopping them.
Dr. Tanko, so
it's like business.
As you are saying that the NPP is responsible for this menace of Galamsey, what is the NDC going to do? Tell us. Outline.
We said it. We are going to repeal that law, that airline that allowed them to go and mine in the forest reserve, we are going to repeal it. It will repeal sharp. We are going to make sure that we will stop mining in the forest reserve areas. Nobody should go near it. But we did it before. And we are assuring you that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, we have the magic wand to stop this. Our time when we were there, did we see this kind of Milo water all over in our rivers? It wasn't there. So we can assure you that one day we have a magic wand. Dear, I have to go and do something quick. I'm en route.
Well, thank you for joining us, sir. We are grateful for your time.
I'm grateful.
Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer is the Deputy Director of Elections and IT for the NDC. So we've had the conversation on the NPP saying that they will also protest the EC should the EC succumb to the request and demands from the NDC for a forensic audit of the voters register ahead of the elections. And Dr. Tanko has given us the position of the NDC on the demands of the NPP too. We'll be back. Stay with us. Inventor Ghana Season 3 is here. ScanBrain Limited, organizers of the Best Inventor Ghana, has opened registration for the 3rd season of this innovative show. Who can enter? Manufacturers of innovative solutions for daily use. Winner goes home with 5,000 Ghana cedis. First runner-up with 3,000 Ghana cedis. And second runner-up with 2,000 Ghana cedis. The show will be broadcast on ABC News Ghana Television. Best Inventor Ghana Season 3 begins on the 21st of September 2024 at the Assembly Hall of the St. John's Grammar School. Registration is open to everyone. Call us now on 054 955 4148 to register. Thank you for staying with us. You are still watching ABC in the morning on ABC News GH. Let's delve straight into politics today. We'll come back to our main discussion for more conversation there. But before that, politics today. Before we get into our conversation for politics today, let's take a look at the chameleon position of the two major political parties. They've been shape-shifting the whole time. The NPP and the NDC on the Electoral Commission, when they either are in opposition or in power, have something to say about the Electoral Commission. In 2016, the NDC was in power, and just like the NPP has done, they quickly jumped to the defense of the EC when the opposition NPP then demanded for the same audits that the NDC are demanding today. The General Secretary of the party then, who is now the chairman of the party, Johnson Nsedum Ketia, popularly known as General Mosquito, found nothing wrong with the register. He said that all those who had issues with the register then should present their evidence to the EC and stop making a fuss about it. Let's take a watch at what General Mosquito said at the time.
Disease persons is the process of exhibition of the register. After every provisional register is compiled, it is exhibited. Before we go into any elections, the register is exhibited. And the main purpose of the exhibition is for us to raise objections to people whose names are there which ought not to be there. There are forms and the means of processing those objections that will lead to deletion of those names. And it includes the deletion of names of dead people too. So opportunity is given for people to present evidence. Because let's face it, the environment we are operating in, if you say people should go and pinpoint the names of dead people for deletion without any evidence, I will go and pinpoint Kwabena Japon's name and say he's dead.
General, are you saying that let's use the mechanisms already in place?
Yes.
To ensure credible voters register? Is that?
Head General Mosquito Nsedum Ketia, who was then the General Secretary of the NDC. He is now the chairman of the same NDC. But now, General Mosquito is calling for what he opposed back then. What has the NPP done? They have also quickly jumped on the EC's defense, this time saying that the NDC are just making noise about the whole situation. The General Secretary of the party, Justin Frimpong Kodia, yesterday had something to say about this.
The recent outburst by the NDC regarding the provisional voters register is just another grand old NDC strategy of lies and deceptions to court public sympathy and support in an election year. We are cautioning the public to be aware of the NDC's crafted false narrative of an opposition party being cheated by a state-controlled electoral body. We are, as New Patriotic Party, challenging the NDC to submit not only to the Electoral Commission, but the media and general public their so-called evidence of alarming irregularities, discrepancies, and manipulations of the provisional register. The recent outburst by the NDC regarding the provisional voters register is just...
So that was the General Secretary of the NPP, Justin Frimpong Kodia. He's also had his say on this issue. To help us do justice to this conversation is Colonel Festus Aboagye, retired. He is a governance expert and he joins us. Good morning, sir.
Good morning and thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir. Sir, the NPP and NDC are playing chess with our Electoral Commission. What, in your estimation, has caused this?
Well, to start with, I think the entities that are involved in what you refer to as a chess game are more than just the two political parties. we must add to the two the institution that we call the Electoral Management Body, that is the EC. We must add the legislature that is responsible for passing laws regarding our elections. We must add the executive, who anecdotally, empirically, influences certain decisions and actions, because the executive that appoints, the chair of the EC. And all said and done, we must, attribute all of this to a constitution that is overdue for amendment or whatever it is. But on a serious note, elections are not a joke. Unless we want to say that the whole country and its democratic project are also a joke. So to the extent that parties have two sides of their mouths, one when in power, the other when not in power, they stand on certain principles which they then tend to contradict themselves when on the other side of the political divide. They are jeopardizing our democratic consolidation and indeed the stability of this country. The reason is very simple, that if we claim to be a democracy as we say we are, then the only way left for us as citizens to select our leaders and those who represent us, who then are vested with the power to govern us, is elections. So we say that, look, let's have free, fair, transparent elections. But one of the key critical aspects of elections is the register. Because if your name is not on the register, you cannot cast your vote. You say, so at any point in time, put law aside, this is common sense, it's a matter of pragmatism. If anybody has reason to say that the register is corrupted, is bloated, names have been deleted, some names have been transferred, previous volumes of names have been added as the EC is trying to suggest, then the register is not fit for purpose. Because I keep mentioning that ordinarily, we should not even be worried about dead people if we are a people who have integrity. But our good friend, our brother, Hobson Adoye, has told us that dead people vote. And he explained the mechanisms that at the time as MPP member they used to have people go to vote in the name of dead persons. So all the concerns that are raised at any point in time, whether by the NPP or by the NDC, need to be taken in good faith and in all seriousness. Because we can't go to an election where you go to your ballot station and then you are told that your name is not there. And as somebody suggested, your name is not even at ABC1, from ABC1 to ABC2, which will be in close proximity. But your name has been moved from ABC1 to a far-flung corner of Ghana, which is absolutely impossible for you on the day to go and cast your vote. So my argument is very simple, that if we are serious as a people, and we cherish peace as we say we do, then let's prevail upon the EC to ensure that the register is clean. And indeed, I have fundamental issues with the EC. And I think there is a flaw in the law which doesn't make the EC accountable for errors that it commits. Because if anybody registers and has proof is holding a voter registration card, and the EC cannot find his or her name on the register, or the name is not at the place where he selected to, or he or she selected to vote, then the EC must resign. But so far, it's as if the EC is untouchable. And every error or errors that the EC makes, we must accept. And the EC continues. And because we cannot hold the EC to account, they can get up and be issuing press statements and so on and so forth. You see, we need to get serious.
Sir, in getting serious, if you look at how the EC, the Electoral Commission, is currently composed and how the appointment of officers of the Commission is done, how can we ensure that the people and political parties can put their trust in the EC regardless of whether they are in opposition or in power?
See, the people who drafted this constitution in 1992, I had the opportunity to appear before the committee, I think whatever they used to call it, sometime in 1992, but to speak to them on a different issue. They, in good conscience, crafted a constitution that they thought would be managed by people who are reasonable, people who have integrity, and people who will not look for loopholes in the constitution in order to exploit to their personal or party or family or whatever advantage. Unfortunately, that is not what society is. So when the authority is vested in an individual that we call the president to elect the commissioners of the EC, and this individual decides to put at the EC persons who are publicly known to be card-bearing members or publicly known to be affiliated to the EC. That is where the problem starts from. The problem was created by the president after Charlotte Osei, who kept nominating people that all Ghanaians accept are affiliated to the MPP or have been members of the MPP. You see, and we need to hold the president accountable. Because in 1992, the Constitution did not say that you put principle aside, you put good judgment aside, you put the national interest aside, place your interest as an individual, your family's interest, your party's interest, ahead of the national interest, and then do the kind of things that has brought us to where we. Because even if Jean Mensah and Bosman, Asari and Shibo Kweku and the Osofu and whoever, even if they are not corrupt, the perception, which is the reality, is that given the associations with the NPP, you cannot trust the EC. So we are dealing with a trust deficit issue. And I think, to answer your question, one way of ensuring that the EC is prevailed upon to do the right thing is for the sovereign people, including the institutions. And by sovereign people, institutions, I mean the churches that they belong to, or the religious groups that they belong to, the mosque and so on, the civil society groups that they belong to, the traditional rulers under whom they serve and so on and so forth. If all of these, in good conscience, will rise up and raise their voices and tell the EC that you must do what is right, the EC will be prevailed upon to do that. But if they are quiet, and indeed I have observed, given that I was not in the country for many years, I heard statements, thanks to social media, that people were making that are now being played back to us. And I keep asking myself, where are those voices? Why are they quiet? Because on principle or in principle, what is wrong is always wrong. Something is not wrong because of who does it. It is wrong whether it is done by A or B. So those who had issues then in 2012 and whatever with the NDC's position and supported the MPP for the register to be reviewed, revised, to be audited, to be whatever, the same voices must speak now. So in any case, how do you know whether these names that we are talking about, we are assuming that they are all NDC people, but they may not be. The 243,000 may not necessarily be MPP. They could be CPP, they could be PPP, PNC, they could be, MPP. But the principle is that nobody has a right to exploit technology and transfer votes without the consent of those individuals, including the gerrymandering aspect where people now, during the last, limited voter registration and voter transfer, whatever, they are not even doing it as individuals. They are doing it as groups. They arrive in buses, to go and transfer their votes to wherever. Now, what are we looking for? Are we looking for peace and stability, or we are looking for, chaos? Because the history is all around us in this continent, where certain countries have gone up in flames. Look, let me use your platform to request Ghanaians to buy my book on ECOMOG and see how in Liberia, at the time that Tubman or whoever, Tolberg, was removed by the coup in 1979. On the electoral register, they had about, was it 500,000 or whatever names? But at the end of the elections, the Independent Electoral Commission declared votes that were far in excess of what was on the register. So the coup happened, 1979, 12 April, or thereabout. Or was it 81, whichever time it was. And since then, Liberia was never stable until in the 2000s. Is that what we are looking for? Côte d'Ivoire gives us examples. From the time of Bédié, General Gué, and so on in the late 90s and so on. And you can't even say that Côte d'Ivoire is out of the woods yet. It's a strongman, regime. Togo next door is a good example. The instability in Burkina, whatever, they all involve elections. Senegal, a recent case, is also another example. Kenya is an example. So is it an African disease that we see danger and somehow we think that it's not danger and want to play with fire as some people will say. So the EC must not think that. And I think yesterday I heard the retired Justice Atuguba speaking on another platform that there is no institution in this country that is absolutely independent. Excuse me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
In saying that, Justice Atuguba said that there's no institution in this country that is currently independent. Do you believe that the EC, the appointment of the EC, the powers should be taken away from the president so that a committee is set up to do that?
Because people who are well read into constitutional democracies and so on have given us examples that in Kenya, if I'm not mistaken, it is advertised and then you apply. And in all such processes involving applications, there will be scrutiny, there will be shortlisting. You see, there will be interviews of some sort. But this idea that one man is vested with such huge authority, do I agree that all these experiences are showing us that?
Okay. So finally,
there was an Old Testament, there is a New Testament.
Okay.
There's nothing that hasn't changed. No constitution is immutable because it's being managed by human beings And human tendencies intrude into the application of constitution. So you keep amending the constitution to reflect the realities of the people. And I agree with the justice. We need to take those powers again. Unfortunately, and I suppose that this issue was one of the issues identified in the Constitutional Review Commission established by the former late president. We threw that away. Currently, I hear that the former Speaker of Parliament is also doing another constitutional review, or a review of the constitutional review recommendation. I mean, what are we talking about? 8 years have gone. No change has been made. The one that was attempted to be made regarding the election of, was it DCs, whatever, assembly members, not related to political parties, because people rose up against it, the president said, okay, then I'm not going to take it forward. So the reality is that party interest has come too much to the fore. The party interest has now overtaken the national interest. And that is the race that we are running. Look, if I may appear to be digressing, where did the government get the money to bring in those earth-moving equipment for the road construction in the districts? Because the vice president himself said that they didn't get the money from government. They didn't go to parliament. Where did the money come from? Then this some packages or whatever given to welders or mechanics or whatever. Where did the government, the party, get the money to bring all these things in? You see, so people have suggested let's have laws, and that is a responsibility of the EC to take an LI or CIA or whatever it is to parliament to regulate political party funding. South Africa has it. And last week or two, the report came out, and South Africans were discussing how parties got their monies, where they got the monies from, and the impact those sources made on the elections in South Africa. That brought the the ANC from the 50s to the 40s, which forced them now to go into the government of national unity. So I believe that we are a joke as a people. We are not democratic, as we want people to make us to believe. Because you look at all sectors of our lives, and you see that the law is not working. You're looking at Galamsey. Yesterday I posted something on Facebook. Let me give you the gist of it. In 1831, whoever the Asantehene was, told the British that they must reinstate the slave trade, because the abolition of the slave trade without any export substitution was going to affect the status, the economy, the military power of Ashanti. Can you imagine that the slave trade, which was abolished in 1807, must be reinstated? Now, close by in Dahomey, at the time there was no Togo. Dahomey king was called Gizu. Gizu gets up and he writes to the British that, me too, I want you to reinstate, the slave trade. Because although I'm now trying to transition to palm oil trade, it's not as lucrative as the slave trade that was bringing me about $300,000 in 1841 thereabout. So I'm asking the question, and I was on Facebook. Those chiefs, and I heard the president of the National House of Chiefs, and I've heard the chief executive of the Minerals, Mining, whatever commission, and I've heard other people say that if you ban mining, the economic cost will be too much. So what is more important to us as a people? Is it the national heritage, which is the land, the forest, the rivers, that give us several livelihoods, farming, this, that. Are those more important than a few people, including politically exposed persons, illegally mining, indiscriminately mining into forest reserves? And you think that we will know a bit of history, as I'm trying to suggest? In any case, we have common sense to say that if we lose our land and our forests and our water bodies, that is the end of our society. And people think that, oh, turbidity is not the issue. It's not the issue. If we allow we stop Galamsey now, in a matter of days and weeks, the water will get clean. But it doesn't mean that the heavy metals that have gone into the water or the water bed that the fishes have drank, that have seeped into underground water, that the plants are now going to use to grow and give us the fruits, the plantain, the bananas, the cassavas, the this, that those ones are clean. You see, that is how shallow-minded we are. That when you have clean water, it means the water is wholesome. But we know enough science that. Yes, please.
Because of our time constraints, we want to say thank you. But we'll definitely come back and then discuss your book that you mentioned, and also we'll continue this conversation on Galamsey. So I want to say thank you.
You are welcome. These are serious matters that cannot be discussed in 5 minutes.
Yes, sir.
You need a lot of time.
Like you always do, we'll come back to you, and we are hoping that, like always, you will give us your audience.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So Colonel Festus Aboagye, retired, is a governance expert. He's given us his thoughts on the brouhaha between the NPP, between the NDC and the EC, and also between the NPP and the NDC. He's given us a lot on it, and we've even looked at Galamsey and DRIP as part of the conversation. Let's go back to our earlier conversation where the NPP has threatened to protest against the EC if the EC succumbs to the NDC's request for a forensic audit call. We have joining us Kofi Tonto, who is an NPP communications team member. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you for joining us this morning.
You are welcome.
Your General Secretary has acknowledged that there were some discrepancies when he had the presser, yet he has refuted calls for a forensic audit. Why is that?
Well, first of all, are you saying the General Secretary has admitted that we have errors, or I'm not sure if I understand?
The General Secretary acknowledged some discrepancies when he was having the conversation yesterday at the presser. However, he's refuting calls.
Discrepancies on our side or the NPP NDC side?
Discrepancies in our voter register.
I know. Because are you saying that he's admitted that there are discrepancies, or he's admitting to the discrepancies the NDC has outlined, or what? I'm trying to understand the question.
Well, let's say now he says.
Or general discrepancies.
Say again? Can you hear me, sir?
Or are you referring to general discrepancies?
The General Secretary of the NPP. But even away from that, you are refuting calls for a forensic audit of the voters register. Isn't an audit good for all of us? Why are you refuting the calls for the forensic audit?
First of all, the election is being supervised or guided by two particular laws. There is the CI 95, CI 91 promulgated in 2016, which looks at the voter register, and then CI 127, which looks at other aspects of the election. CI 91, which takes critical look at the voter register, outlines how the register should be compiled, and then institutes a mechanism for identifying and ratifying any errors that are found in the voters register. So when you look at the CI, it talks about the process of registering qualified Ghanaians. Once qualified Ghanaians are registered, the first register is compiled, And that register is what we call the provisional voter register. Provisional in that it is not a final register. That provisional register is then taken through another process called exhibition. The exhibition is where political parties and individuals are required by law to, one, take a look at the register and ascertain the validity of the details in the register. So each individual, yourself, myself, are required by law to go to the polling station where we registered and check our details and make sure the details are correct. Political parties are also enjoined to review the provisional register because the CI insists on the EC providing copies of the provisional register to the political parties. Once the political parties get the register, they are supposed to review and identify any challenges that they have. Once you have challenges, you are then required by law to provide the challenges, a list of the challenges, and evidence backing the challenges to the Electoral Commission. And then the Electoral Commission, based on your evidence, will take out what it needs to take out, challenge what it needs to challenge. And then once this exercise is complete, we get what we call a certified register, which certified register has been reviewed by the Electoral Commission and the various political parties. And the individuals have also had a chance to go to the polling station and review. This is the inherent safeguards laid out in the law on how to audit a register. So the MPP is not against auditing the register because there are laws and processes on how a voter's register is audited. What the NDC is requesting is not supported by law. They are asking for 7 things, which 7 things are not backed by the CI. So the first question we should all ask the NDC is that the things you are requesting for, where in the CI does it allow you to ask for these things? Otherwise, we enter into the realm of absurdity. My sister, the NDC is requesting for 7 things to be done. What if tomorrow the MPP requests for 100 things to be done? What if the next day CPP requests for 20 things to be done? Where does it end? Where does it end? 2, the NDC is saying that they want 7 things to be done. Remember, the election has timelines. If you read the CI 91 Regulation 27 Clause 4, it talks about the fact that the Electoral Commission must provide a copy of the certified results or certified voters register to all political parties not less than 21 days, not less than 3 weeks. So if we are to do the things the NDC is requesting, what is going to happen is that we have to do everything they are requesting and finish it by first week of November. You will agree with me that this week we are entering the last week of September. That means that we have 1 month, 1 week for us to do the forensic audit, for us to do the stakeholder engagement they are requesting for us to do what they call for the Electoral Commission to republish the audited register. And then 4, they want the Electoral Commission to do another exhibition.
Okay, Kofi, it means that...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, it means that you don't believe that this is capable of happening within the limited time frame that there is. However, although you don't believe that it is capable, your General Secretary says that if the EC, in the event that the EC succumbs to these things that you are mentioning, succumbs to the NDC's request for these things, NPP is going to stage a nationwide demonstration.
Of course, because they are not backed by law.
But we are in a volatile period. Election periods
where is the volatility?
Election periods are periods where already there's some simmering tension. Regardless, everybody is looking at being the one to grab the power. Don't you think that NPP also saying that they will stage a demonstration is not the right way to go at the moment?
No, don't we have our constitutional right to stage a demonstration? Just like they staged a demonstration, why didn't we say that the election is volatile, so they shouldn't stage a demonstration? It's neither here nor there, my sister. The bottom line is that there are laws, which laws were promulgated in our parliament, which parliament had the NDC and the MPP both in parliament. The law, actually, the CI 91 that we are using was promulgated in 2016 when the NDC had majority in parliament. That was when the law was promulgated. So if they wanted other aspects of the process to be amended, why didn't they amend it? Why didn't they suggest an amendment?
Well, Kofi,
why didn't they suggest an amendment? Look, the Constitution.
Hello, Kofi Tonto.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I want to ask.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, and we can clearly hear you. If you can also hear us, please let us know.
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay. Kodeo has said that NDC should come to the table and meet with stakeholders at an IPAC meeting so that they can table the concerns better. NDC is saying that they will not come to any table. Should the NDC change their mind and decide to come to the table, will you also be coming to that table to have
But we are already at the table, my sister. You are asking the question as if we are not at the table. We are already at the table, and we are asking them that you claim you have over 300,000 errors that you have identified. We are saying that present the 300,000 errors that you have.
Kofi, when you went through the register, did you see any errors? Did the MPP see any errors in it?
Errors, my sister, seeing errors in the register in itself.
Hello, Kofi Tonto.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Please go on.
Sorry, if people keep calling me into the line. I'm sorry. I'm saying that the CI, which guides the election, recognizes that there can be errors. That is why the CI said you should first compile and present a provisional list. The CI itself recognizes that there can be errors. So a political party finding errors or challenges in the provisional list is not rocket science. For example, dead people. If you compile a list from a certain time period to the election, there is the likelihood that people will die. Those people will be in the register. So you have a time to go and remove those people. Even after you have removed the so-called dead people, from the time you have the certified register to the time you vote, people will die. So there will be dead people whichever way you look at it. That is why the CI is saying that you provide a provisional list because it intends, it anticipates that there can be errors. So once there are errors, these are the steps you go through to remove the errors. So finding errors in the register is not rocket science, it's not anything new. If you go back to our history, every provisional register we've had errors. In fact, if you go to Abu Ramadan, Evans Nimaku versus EC, if you look at Justice Krabs Committee, both rulings established that there were errors in the provisional register which ought to be removed. So the contention is not that there are errors, because we all know that there may be errors.
Kofi, finally, before you go, the NDC has said that you requested for auditing in 2016, and nobody complained about that.
That's a lie. That's a complete lie. John Dramani Mahama in 2016 said that we should allow the EC to work. The EC is an independent body, qualified and competent to do their job. In fact, John Mahama said the EC has inherent, listen to the words he used, the EC has inherent safeguards. So if there are any challenges, there are inherent safeguards that will solve those challenges. That's what John Mahama said. John Mahama said that we should allow the EC to work. In fact, Esiedun Ketia even said that, in his opinion, NPP cannot be trusted. If there is anybody that ought to be trusted, it is the Electoral Commission, because the NPP took the Electoral Commission to court and the NPP lost. And since the NPP lost, it is the Electoral Commission that is a credible institution. So, a credible institution with inherent safeguards, all of a sudden is not credible. All of a sudden, the inherent safeguards are non-existent. Please.
Well, Kofi,
they never said that.
Kofi, thank you for speaking with us. Because of our time, we would have to end our conversation.
Sure. I'm also grateful.
Definitely have this conversation more and more. Kofi Tonto is a team member, a member of the NPP communications team. So that's all for our discussion today. But before we wrap up, just in from the Electoral Commission, out of the 24 who filed nominations to stand for the elections, for the general elections as presidential candidates, the EC has released the press statement. 13 of them have been successful. Out of the 24, 13 have been successful. So this is the press release outcome of the filing of nominations for the 2024 presidential elections following the successful conduct of the filing of nominations from the 9th of September to the 13th of September 2024. The Commission instituted a thorough examination of the nomination form submitted by candidates to ensure conformity with requirements set out in law. The Electoral Commission wishes to inform the general public that the following persons have successfully gone through the nomination process and qualified to contest as candidates in the 2024 presidential elections. 13 of them: Mahamadou Bawumia of the NPP, John Dramani Mahama of the NDC, John Alan Kweju-Tremanteng, an independent candidate, Christian Kwabena Andrews of the Ghana Union Movement, Daniel Augustus Latte Jr. of the Great Consolidated Popular Party, George Chumberima Edu, an independent candidate, Nana Kwame Bediako, independent candidate, Ekua Donko of the Ghana Freedom Party, Hassan Abdullahi Ayariga of the All People's Congress, Kofi Akpalu of the Liberal Party of Ghana, Mohammed Frimpong of the National Democratic Party, Nana Akosua Frimpoma of the Convention's People's Party, and Kofi Kranteng, an independent candidate. These 13 persons have successfully gone through the EC's processes and will be presented as candidates in the upcoming 2024 general elections. This is a press release just in from the Electoral Commission. Let's take happy hour. Well, to be featured on our Happy Hour segment on ABC in the morning, you should WhatsApp us on our WhatsApp number 05099303360. Let's take a look at what is in Happy Hour this morning. We have some birthday wishes for you. Yesterday we read some. If your loved one is having a birthday, your loved one is celebrating, you should wish them on Happy Hour. Happy birthday, Frankie Du. This is coming from your wife. So happy birthday from Mrs. Frankie. She says, every day with you is a gift, and I am so grateful for all the laughter, love, and adventures we share. You make my world brighter by just being you. Here's to celebrating you today and always. I love you more than words can say. So this is from your wife to you, Mr. Frank Edu, and also to Mrs. Perpetua Lofori Ampofu from your friends and family. They say they hope your day is filled with joy, laughter, and all your favorite things. Cheers to you and another year of fabulous adventures. Enjoy every moment of it. To Ebenezer Fenyi-Dadzi from your media colleagues, they're wishing you a fantastic day filled with joy and laughter. Your hard work and positive attitude inspire us all, and we are lucky to have you on our team. Here's to another year of great achievements and memorable moments together. Enjoy your special day. And to Ray Kwache, a happy birthday to you, Ray Kwache, from your colleagues. They are saying they hope your day is as incredible as you are. Your dedication and teamwork make the workplace a better place, and we are grateful to have you with us. Here's to celebrating you today. Cheers to another year of success and fun ahead. And to Ernest Kojo Menu from Derikumi. Derikumi says he hopes your day is filled with all the things you love most. You bring so much joy and laughter into his life, and he is so grateful for your friendship. Here's to another year of adventures, late night chats, and unforgettable memories. Let's celebrate you today. So that's all for Happy Hour today. I also want to extend happy birthday to everybody celebrating their birthday today and during the weekend, all through the month of September. Happy birthday to you. To send your shout out, you need to WhatsApp us on 050-99-303-60. And happy birthday in advance to our very own Godwin Otre. Happy birthday in advance to you, coming from all of us here at ABC News GH. Parker, myself, Justina, Solis, Ohemia, everybody here, we say a happy birthday in advance to you. That's all for Happy Hour. Thank you. Well, you know, and you would recall that Koda, popular musician Kofi Owusu, and has passed away, and he will be laid to rest. We are sending commiserations to his family, to his loved ones, and everybody in the gospel fraternity, and everybody who loved his music. We pray that the Lord gives you peace and strength throughout these hard times. And we extend this to everybody who is mourning their loved ones during the weekend. We know that this is the period where we go and support friends and family in mourning loved ones. We are praying for you and we commiserate with you. More news. For more news, credible news and timely news, visit our website www.abcnewsgh.com and interact with us on social media at abcnewsgh. A big thank you to the production team, a big thank you to the technical team, and to everybody for making ABC in the Morning a beautiful show. I am Abuna Mante. Do enjoy your weekend.